Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
Welcome to the Mustardcast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. So, as usual, we're going to start with what media we're consuming. I'm going to start this time. I finished watching Lovecraft Country like the day before my HBO subscription was up, and what makes me mad about that is because I've been waiting. Adventure Time has a sequel series. Well, it's not a sequel series. It's a mini series that like expands on what some of the characters were doing after the end of the series. And they're longer episodes. They're like 45 minutes. And the first episode was about BMO, and they came out like months ago. And the second episode came out literally the day that my subscription ran out. And the second episode was about Marceline and Bubblegum. So, but Wonder Woman is going to be on HBO Max on the 25th. So I just have to avoid spoilers until the 25th when I resubscribe to watch Wonder Woman. And then I'll watch Adventure Time. What is it called? The Distant Lands is what the miniseries is called. But yeah, I finished Lovecraft Country. It was good. I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah, thank you, because I haven't finished it.
Yeah, you haven't finished it. Yeah,
Me
and
too.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone else either. But I started to watch Fooly Cooley, which I hear people talk about it a lot. It's an anime, and people like say it's really good. So I started to watch it. It is weird. I'm not gonna finish watching it because it's too weird for me. It's really strange and it's very erratic and fast paced, and I just couldn't handle it. I also this might surprise some people, but I think the first time I watched Samurai Champloo was when I was in elementary school, and I watched it since then, the first 23 episodes about 3 times, but there's 26 episodes. I've never finished it, but it's one of my favorite anime of all time. I've literally only watched the first 23 episodes until like a week ago. I finally watched the last 3 episodes of Samurai Champloo. So I've officially finally completed that show. I don't know why, but I just never finished it. It's not like I don't like it. It's one of my favorite anime of all time. It's directed by the same dude who did Cowboy Bebop. I love that show.
Cowboy Bebop. Yeah.
But I don't know why I just never finished it. Originally it was because it was it was airing on TV, so I would miss a few episodes now and again. But then after that, I watched it on DVD. I had all of it. I had rented it from the library, but I still didn't finish it. And then I was watching it on Hulu, and then I still didn't finish it until last week. So yeah, I finally finished Samurai Champloo. But I'm going to start this by saying this is going to be the Star Wars episode of the Mustard Cast. We are going to spoil everything we talk about. So if
you haven't seen The Mandalorian and you care about spoilers,
if you don't get spoiled about anything involving Star Wars, don't watch this episode at all, because we're going to spoil everything.
We're talking movies, TV shows, games, comics, books. No, leave.
Everything. We're spoiling it all. This is a great episode. And naturally, we're going to start off with what's our favorite.
I haven't gone over what media I'm consuming yet.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
This is just so wild. It's insane.
I'll straight skip.
Like, it's just ow.
All right, go ahead, bro. My bad.
All right. It's always, whenever we record it, we always skip over one thing. Like, it's always something at the very beginning we skip over.
I'll let you go first, and this time I went first, and then I forgot about you. I need to keep letting you go first every time. That way I don't forget.
Okay. Media I've been consuming. We were talking about this, like, right before the podcast started. I started playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's really good. It's way, way, way better than Assassin's Creed Odyssey. From an Assassin's Creed super fan. It's way better than Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm taking off my glasses. I look weird with these glasses on. They're screeners. They're the Berlizzi screeners. I'm just wearing the blackout blue light. I don't know why I'm wearing them though. My computer has a blue light filter on it anyway. It's really great from an Assassin's Creed fan standpoint. I like it a whole lot better than Odyssey. I actually was one of the few people that liked Odyssey. I'm a really big Greek mythology fan, though, so that probably has something to do with it. It was not a great Assassin's Creed game. It was a fine game. It was a fine regular game.
Yeah, that's the thing about most recent Assassin's Creed games. They're good games, but they're not the best Assassin's Creed games specifically, because they stray so far from what Assassin's Creed has been for so long. And it's a bit odd, but they're not bad by any means.
They're not bad, no. Origins, I feel like Origins was a great both Assassin's Creed
Yeah, that
and
was the one that
yeah.
got me back into Assassin's Creed because after I played 4, Unity, just the reviews were bad, and I think I played it once. The parkour was great, the animation was great, but otherwise, I wasn't really feeling it. And after that, I just stopped playing Assassin's Creed games until Origins.
Yeah, no, I feel like the last true Assassin's Creed game. No, I don't know because I would still count Valhalla and Origins both as true Assassin's Creed games. I feel like the last true Assassin's Creed game was probably Assassin's Creed 1. Just because Assassin's Creed 2 took out like everything that made Assassin's Creed 1 special as an Assassin's Creed game and just
I
like
think that Assassin's Creed 2 built on all of that. I think
I
Black
disagree
Flag.
heavily.
I think Black Flag was the last like true Assassin's Creed game before they started kind of deviating a bit.
I disagree heavily. I feel like okay, and this has nothing to do with Star Wars. I promise we're not going to go on too long for this. But I feel like in Assassin's Creed 1, right? The whole thing was you had 7 different sequences. In each sequence, you had side missions, and the side missions, if you did them, would give you a little bit more intel on your target that you had to assassinate. And if you assassinated the target, that would be the end of that sequence. They straight took that entire mechanic out of Assassin's Creed by the time the second game hit the shelves. That mechanic was no longer there.
I think that they need to just get rid of the animus altogether. Because ever since I don't even remember his name. What was the spoiler alert? What was the name of Nolan North's character that died? Desmond?
Desmond? Yeah.
Right. His Desmond after Desmond died, all the animus stuff was just boring. Because Desmond,
I disagree. I feel like Assassin's Creed 4 did a good job with the animus stuff. You don't know who you played as. But
I think Assassin's Creed 4 was
no.
The beginning of the downfall of the animus stuff.
No. What was after 4? I don't count Rogue as its own game because Rogue was supposed to be a DLC for 4. So
Yep.
Unity, I feel like Unity was the downfall of that because in 4 was like fine enough because all you were doing, you were able to go through secret files. You unlocked the fact that Origins was happening. Like they'd been planning Origins way back then. There's hints that Desmond was actually still alive. You still see Sean and Rebecca. Speaking of Desmond still being alive, though, there's more hints towards that in Valhalla that Desmond is secretly still alive.
I feel like at the end when there was a choice between Desmond, like letting himself die and surviving, I feel like the option that they gave for him surviving would have made for a more interesting story. Because it was
the original end of the series. Well, it wasn't. Maybe it was. I don't know if it was supposed to be the end of the series or not. But the end of Assassin's Creed 3 was originally supposed to be that Desmond wound up getting like time travel powers or something, and he was able to go back in time to each of these like time periods that he had been before. But apparently Ubisoft felt that was too weird, and so the guy who was in charge was just like, "We'll kill him instead."
the whole.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to drop. I hope you can censor that. We're not allowed to
I didn't hear what you said. I'll have to find out what you said when I rewatch it. But
yeah, try to censor that.
Yeah, the whole point of the whole thing is essentially about time travel in a sense, except that he's more like mentally going back in time, like kind of like how Wolverine did in not Apocalypse. That movie was horrible. What was it?
Days of the Future Past.
Days of the Future Past. Yeah. And so especially with the whole idea about the gods and all that, it would make sense that the natural evolution of the series would be him actually going back in time. Like
that makes sense. That sounds so cool to me.
That would actually make sense, especially when they started introducing these primordial beings. It would make sense that with the power of the animus that basically sends your mind back in time, and then these gods, you combine those two things, you have time travel. And it would have been cool for you to specifically play as Desmond. And then not only that, but go back to the previous time periods you've gone to and meet your ancestors. That would have been cool. And literally, if they went through like all the games, you go back, you go to the first game, the third game, the fourth game, the Ezio trilogy or whatever. Was it 3 games or was it he had 4?
It was 3 games.
Okay.
It was 3 games.
Yeah, Brotherhood, Revelations, and 2.
Yeah, no, it was 3 games. I had to think about it for a second because there was a little PSP game, but that was Altair.
But yeah. Was there anything else you were consuming?
I'm watching Game of Thrones, which is actually really funny because Assassin's Creed Valhalla feels very much so like Game of Thrones. Like they're in a very similar time period, and so like all this stuff with like kings and like Jarls and like King's Hands and stuff like that. It just feels weird because it's just like I'm trying to remember what characters belong in Game of Thrones and what characters belong in Assassin's Creed because it's just like very similar. Um, I also beat Spider-Man Miles Morales. I 100%ed the first save file I'm doing. I'm going to platinum the game. I plan to platinum the game.
I forgot to mention that myself. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to platinum Miles Morales, which means I just get like all the trophies and stuff like that. And I'm gonna do that. I was talking to Sean about this a little bit off of the podcast before we started. I'm going through like a lot with college right now, so I haven't been able to do nearly as much as I want to. As soon as I'm done with like all of this college stuff, like for the semester of winter break, I'm just gonna like platinum the game. It's gonna be like the first thing I do because it's not a lot I have to do. I have like maybe 2 trophies left.
I think I also have like 2 or 3 trophies left before I platinum the game. Because
Yeah,
I not only did I went to platinum game, but I decided even though unless it's a hidden trophy, I don't think it's a trophy, but I went on my way to gold every single one of the challenges, and it was frustrating. It was so frustrating.
yeah.
The swinging challenges specifically were frustrating. The combat challenges were easy, but the swinging challenges, bro, I would sit there. The first one of them, I think it was the level 2 challenge. The level 1 challenge was kind of easy. The level 2 challenge, I'm trying to think. So the level 2, the level 1 challenge took a while as well, but the level 2, I think I sat there for like 45 minutes, got frustrated, and you know what happened? In the middle of my frustration, I said, do I really want to play Demon Souls? Because if this is me angry now, trying to beat this challenge, how angry would I get playing a game that's purposely meant to destroy you?
I was
So,
gonna say because it's a game
45 minutes in, I'm tired. I'm like, I didn't even put the game on rest mode so I can come back to it. I straight shut it down and started watching TV. And then like 30 minutes later, I was like, all right, let me do this again. And then on like my second or third try, I beat it. And then I did the same thing with the very final traversal challenge. I sat there for like a good 45 minutes again, stopped, came back, probably sat there for another 30 minutes, and then finally beat it. It took time, but I did it. The stealth challenges and the combat challenges were easy, though. They were easy to get the gold in. And now I'm thinking about trying to get the gold in the first game. And first off, it feels really weird going back to play that first game.
I haven't gone back to play it yet. I'm gonna do it also over winter break because they added the Amazing Spider-Man suit.
That's why I went back to play it because, bro, it is now my favorite suit in the game. My favorite suit was the Into the Spider-Verse suit, which I like. In game specifically, I like Peter's Into the Spider-Verse suit more than Miles because I just like the bright colors of it. I like how bright and cartoony it looks. Whereas Miles, it looks good. It's not. I don't know. It's for me the brightness of Peter's really brings out the cartooniness that I like about it. And the Amazing Spider-Man suit, it was already my favorite live-action Spider-Man suit, the very first suit from the first movie. And seeing it in game, it looks so beautiful. I'm kind of upset I don't have a PS5 because it would look even better if I had the remastered version, which it's trash that like you can't upgrade to the remastered version if you already have Spider-Man on PS4. And
yeah, I think that's a little dumb.
If anything, it should at the very least cost like $10 to upgrade. Because I understand they put work into it and they changed a lot. Yeah. So it makes sense that they would want you to pay for it because they put work into it. So they should have said, okay, $15 for an upgrade pack. And maybe they'll do that in the future once they realize that it's stupid. But otherwise, it's ridiculous that you would have to. I mean, yeah, that you would have to buy the game again. At the very least, at least you can transfer your saves. Like you could start from where you left off and all the stuff that you have in your PS4 version on your PS5 remastered version. At the very least, despite the fact that you still have to buy it, which is ridiculous. But let's not talk about Spider-Man too much. We might make a review video because I really want to do that. You know, if you're too busy, I'll do it by myself because I really want to just make.
No, I definitely want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really just want to make a video dedicated to reviewing that game. I've already started taking tons of notes on it because I love it. But let's not get too far into that.
I'm like Wednesday. Try me like day after tomorrow. Try.
Because we're like 15 minutes in, and
oh yeah, we haven't even started talking about Star Wars yet.
About Star Wars yet. So
okay,
our favorite Star Wars movies. We both agree that
Return of the Jedi.
We both like Return of the Jedi is our favorite. A lot of people say that Empire Strikes Back is the best, but we both disagree.
Yeah, I like Empire Strikes Back. Don't get me wrong. It's my second favorite of the original trilogy. I do really like it. I just much prefer Return of the Jedi. It's just something about it was always my childhood dream ever since watching A New Hope to be a Jedi, because like I was like 4 years old when my mom made me watch not Return of the Jedi. When my mom made me watch A New Hope, like she sat me down. I was like 4 years old. It's one of my earliest memories of sitting there watching A New Hope for the first time. And ever since watching A New Hope, I was like, I want to be a Jedi. Like since I was 4 years old. And Return of the Jedi. I can't speak today. It's Return of the Jedi. What's a Jedi? No. And like watching Return of the Jedi was just like so cathartic. It was just like Luke Skywalker finally becomes a Jedi. I want to be in his shoes. I want to be a Jedi. I want to be Luke Skywalker. Like that was always it for me. And Return of the Jedi was just perfect. Plus, green is my favorite lightsaber color. That is my lightsaber color. Like every single time I take a lightsaber test, it's always green. So,
I'm trying to think. I was going to say the reason. I mean, I get why people think that that Empire Strikes Back. Like a lot of people prefer that one because it's a story of, and it's something that I'm gonna criticize the prequel trilogy for not doing later, is that Luke is very flawed and he's very much like he's a teenager and he's just like he's focused on what he wants to do and doesn't care about what Yoda is trying to teach him. And he slowly grows throughout the entirety of the trilogy. But you see
top tier character development.
Yeah, you see the result of the character growth in the very beginning of Return of the Jedi, but you see him actually go through what forces him to change in Empire Strikes Back when he leaves Dagobah to go save Han and Leia, and then fights his dad, gets his hand cut off, and he pays the price for being an idiot. And then when he comes back in Return of the Jedi, some time has passed, he's matured, he realized how stupid he was, and he's being much smarter.
It's not much time. I think it's only like a week, maybe.
I mean, it's still a bit of time.
It's still time, though, yeah.
But yeah, the reason I like Return of the Jedi is because we get to see, not only, it's more action-packed a bit, because it starts off with a bang.
it starts off with action.
It starts off really good. It starts off with Luke and Leia going to go rescue Han. And that's just a dope action scene, and a very memorable action scene that everybody knows. And then it goes from that almost directly to the what is it, Endor?
Does it go straight to Endor? No. It doesn't go straight to Endor.
Oh, it doesn't go.
Luke goes to Dagobah.
Yeah, I know it doesn't go straight to Endor, but I mean, like, Luke doesn't go to Endor, but actually, yes, he does. But Han and
he does, but it's way later. It's like because Han, Leia, Chewie, and Lando go and meet back up with the Rebel fleet. Then that's when they're like going over the Death Star plans and like going back over the
right. They're
going back over the Death Star plans, basically on Endor.
Yeah, there's a little bit of exposition in between, but for the most part, they get to Endor pretty quick.
Yeah, they get to end. Most of the movie is spent.
Yes, it's like good 15 minutes exposition, and then they're on Endor, going to go shut down the field generator. The shield generator. And again, another dope action scene that scene in the forest with the speeders is dope. That's probably one of my favorite.
That was awesome
scenes out of. I think for me, it's the character development of Luke, seeing the result of everything that Empire Strikes Back built up, combined with just the fact that this is the last movie of that trilogy, and and it shows because this is where some of the best action sequences are. It was building up to this moment, and it really showed, and it just explodes in action. I like action. I mean, I think that's obvious. I like action. I'm also.
So we do like action over here at the Mustard Cast.
Yeah, I love action, but the only thing that's slightly above action for me is romance, just very slightly. And I don't know. I feel like my biggest criticism would just be, the lightsaber fights in the early days of Star Wars were, and we're going to talk more about saber fights later. I'm not sure if I left it in your notes or I took it out because I didn't want to spoil it, but I have some criticism for for pretty much all lightsaber fights, except for Ray Parks. He has the best lightsaber fights. And it's just that they were not skillful whatsoever, especially in those first three movies. They were very
I
they were very very just swing, and you see him purposely go up the block because it's very obviously choreographed, and it's just not it's not very convincing. Essentially, it did its job, and it really conveyed the story, and it made you feel the weight of the situation, but it didn't have
I
much.
disagree heavily with that.
It didn't have much weight to it, in my opinion. I had a feeling you were.
I disagree far heavily with that. I feel as though no, because even Yoda or not Yoda, even Obi-Wan versus Vader in Episode 4, they were fairly realistic as far as sword fights go, because they were based on kendo and like Japanese sword fighting. They were yeah, no, for movie fight scenes, they were fairly realistic.
No, for me, I wasn't talking about realism by any means. I mean,
Oh no, I was talking about
it's
realism.
a
And
sci-fi
plus, it's
show.
just like
It's a sci-fi
technology
show about,
limitations.
it's about space wizards. I'm not looking for necessarily I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not necessarily looking for realism. I'm just looking for something a bit more. I mean, it was okay. Like I said, it wasn't bad. It was just okay. It didn't really do anything for me. It did what it needed to do. It showed the weight of the situation. These people are fighting with these swords that can cut through anything, and they're both skilled at what they're doing because neither of them are cutting each other. But for the most part, every lightsaber fight equates to them deliberately aiming for the other person's lightsaber and never really aiming at the person.
That's a lot more. I still disagree more with that. That's a lot more prevalent in the sequel trilogy and in the prequel trilogy than it is in the original
They
trilogy.
take it more. It's a bit more grounded, and it's way slower paced because they're watching each other, because they aren't just swords. Because in real life, even you fighting somebody with a knife, you would be super
Yeah,
wary and slow, and you guys would be circling each other and taking it super slow. But in this case, it's a sword that can cut through literally anything. So they would be even more cautious, and because of that, they were being slow. They were making deliberate strikes, and they were just being super careful. And my
you don't
my
see any of that in the
my
prequel
criticism
trilogy.
isn't that it's real. It isn't realistic. It's that the first movie. Here's the thing about the first movie. I'm not really too worried about the fights in the first movie because it was the first three movies, because it was the first three movies, and um and and they weren't really worried about the kind of like there weren't as many Jedi alive in that first movie
Yeah,
as there was in the in the prequel trilogy. So you only had Obi-Wan, Vader, and Luke. They were only people using lightsabers. And when Luke was Yoda wasn't using the lightsaber in the original three movies.
he
But
wasn't using a lightsaber. I don't
the
even think in canon or in Legends in between. I don't think he was using his lightsaber either.
yeah, when you only have those three people who fight the way that they fight, the only people using lightsabers, it makes sense that Luke would adopt kind of a similar style of more realistic, slower, more meaningful, and like paying attention to your opponent type fighting. And then when we go into the prequels, it gets way too flaily for my for my taste. It's too much of them doing all of this and just swinging their lightsabers directly at the other person's lightsaber, and I wasn't a fan of it. The fights that I like the most are um, Darth Maul versus Obi
Qui-Gon and
and
Obi-Wan.
Qui-Gon at the end of the episode one, and then Maul versus Ahsoka and the Clone Wars. Those are my two
No, no,
favorite.
no. We're talking about prequel. If we're talking about prequel
No,
lightsaber fights,
yes, that look, that's technically a prequel like lightsaber fight because it takes place during Order
it
6,
takes place during Episode 3. I don't count it as a prequel lightsaber fight.
and it literally takes place in that time
I
period.
don't count it. No, if I count
But
prequel lightsaber fights, I'm talking about the
I'm
movie, the
counting it.
live action.
I'm counting it as just. I'm not just counting. I'm counting it as a Ray Park lightsaber fight specifically, because what I'm trying to point out is the way Ray Park fights is a good mixture between the like what's the word kind of, I guess, I don't know, over exaggerated kind of movements while still having weight to it and being obviously skillful. where whenever any other Jedi or Sith fights in Star Wars, other than Dooku he was a bit slower, but the first time he flipped, I was like, why is he flipping? Why is this old man doing a
Because he's a Jedi.
No.
Or well, he's not a Jedi, he's a Sith. But like
when Dooku did a front flip, I said, why? He didn't need to do a front flip, and it made him look like an idiot. And you're not going to pretend like it didn't make him look like an idiot.
It didn't. You made him look like a badass.
That old man doing a front flip for no reason, it made no sense. All he had to do, it would have made him look like even more of a badass if he slowly walked down the stairs and then brought out his lightsaber and then approached Obi-Wan and Anakin. But instead, he flipped over the banister and landed on his feet with his lightsaber out like an idiot. And that's one of my biggest problems, the flipping. I hate the flipping so much. They need to stop doing all those unnecessary flips. They're ridiculous and unnecessary. They're doing flips for no reason. Especially
that's the thing, though.
Especially
in lore, in universe. If you look at the lore, of Star Wars, every Jedi and every Sith has a lightsaber style that they like. That's their style. What was it? Form 4, which is Ataru, which is what Anakin uses. It's what. By the way, if you ever question how much of a Star Wars nerd, like if you know me in real life and you ever question how much of a Star Wars nerd I am, this episode, the fact that I know what characters use what forms of lightsaber, I think, okay. Anakin uses Form 4. Yoda uses Form 4, which is why he flips so much. I believe Luke also used a little bit of Form 4, and Qui-Gon used Form 4.
Here's what I feel about Form 4.
That's why they flip so much.
My biggest problem with the flips are, it's the same flip every time. They don't.
It is the same flip.
They don't switch up the flips. If they were like Nightwing doing a bunch of gymnastic stuff and looking cool, then I'd be like, oh, that's dope. But they don't. They do the same cannonball front flip every single time.
That's the reason, though. It's because it's all the same style. It's all the same lightsaber style. That's what they use. That's the same lightsaber style.
Yeah, but
that's why you notice a lot of the same strikes and a lot of the same.
That doesn't excuse the fact that they do the same flip every time. If there was variety in the flips, I'd probably be less upset at it. But they do the same stupid-looking flip every single time.
That's the point. That's the whole reason they do it, though, is because in universe it's the same style. It doesn't look stupid. It looks awesome.
It does not look awesome. I don't know.
It looks awesome.
Sword
if you were having a lightsaber fight with someone and they did that type of flip in the middle of a move, you'd want to stop fighting. You'd want to turn around and walk away. I know I would. I would just want to put down my lightsaber and walk away.
I would think they're idiots. I
would want to put down my lightsaber and walk away. Because anybody that has the confidence and the skill to pull off a front flip mid-combat and not get killed, I don't want to fight them.
Especially if they did it like 6 times. They're like, what are you doing? Sit still. Stop jumping. Why are you flipping?
No, I would, like, if they did that, no, I would leave. I would tell them they won. I would walk away.
Those flips are ridiculous, and I don't like them.
The flips are fine. The flips are fine.
No, they're not. They're stupid.
They are. They're absolutely fine.
Lightsaber sucks. And you're not about to convince me otherwise. And you're not about to try.
It doesn't.
No, listen to me. You're not about to pull some BS and say it's Form 4. No, dude, it sucks. It honestly just sucks. It's not good. The only good ones are Ray Park's because he actually.
They're not.
Yes, they are. The rest of them suck. The only good ones are Ray Park's, and the very last one at the end of Revenge of the Sith with Obi-Wan and Anakin. The Battle of Heroes.
That one is amazing. That one is top tier.
That one is good, but it's still full of a lot of stupid moments.
It is. It's full of a lot of stupid moments. Most namely when they literally twirl their lightsabers around in like the little lotus position and don't hit each other. That was stupid. But
we both sit there looking into each other's eyes and go.
But again, there's an in-universe reason for that too. That's the thing. That's what I love about Star Wars. Is the in-universe reason for everything.
The in-universe reason does not justify bad choreography.
It justifies bad choreography in my eyes. If I go back and I read or see something and they explain it, that's perfectly fine.
Nothing justifies bad choreography unless the person is a bad fighter. That's the only time it justifies it. When the character is purposely meant to look like an idiot. Like, if it was like Dan Hibiki from Street Fighter, then I'll be like, okay, that makes sense. Dan's an idiot. but it's not. These are trained
Nothing.
professional fighters. They're Jedi. Here's the thing. I really want, just how Mandalorian is a Western, like in Star Wars universe, I want a samurai movie.
That's what Star Wars is.
Listen to me. I'm talking about like specifically. Listen, bro. I'm talking about like just like how the Mandalorian specifically makes itself out to be a straight up Western for the most part, most of the time. Something that's straight up a samurai film. I mean show, but within the Star Wars universe. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a Jedi. It could just be some person with a vibro blade. Like.
I would be hurt if it was just a man with a vibro blade running around killing everybody. I would be mad about that. I would be mad.
That would be kind of funny. But preferably, I would want it to be a Jedi, and for them to just.
I would be so mad. Like you have the potential to have so many cool lightsaber fights, and you're gonna walk around here with a vibro blade. Get out! Just get out! No, I don't want.
If it wasn't even a Jedi or a Sith, it was just a person who found a lightsaber and got good with it.
No, I would
like that.
Actually, no, because now that I think about it, depending on the type of person.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it could be cool if it was just a person who like found a lightsaber from a Jedi that got killed or something and
okay.
Got good with
if they were like an Imperial Guard, and like if they were one of like the Imperial Red Guards, that would actually be kind of cool because like if you look at the like the lore for the Imperial Red Guards, that's basically what they are.
See, you help story. It could be they used to be a Red Guard, but you know the Empire went down. And this takes place like around the same time the Mandalorian does, and
that's basically Kir Kranos.
And I don't know who that
is.
Kir
Kranos was an Imperial Red Guard. He was like one of the best. And that's basically Kir Kranos.
Make him a samurai.
That's basically. He carried around a blaster. I mean, samurai used guns. Yeah, like once guns started to be.
Yeah, I would say
guns really changed the warfare in Japan. Like they changed the face of
warfare. Become a thing. They were like, "Oh, look at this! This is much easier. I don't have to come near you."
Shoots fire and death. Bang.
They literally.
But, yeah.
Asia was one of the first places to have gunpowder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really want just a samurai I say I was about to say movie, but show specifically in the vein of Mandalorian, how Mandalorian specifically aims to be a Western. Star Wars show that aims to be a samurai movie. But speaking of Mandalorian, let's start talking about the Mandalorian.
Yeah, because we skipped around the entire like notes for this episode.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Mandalorian. So first thing I want to say is just it combines two genres that I didn't realize I loved when they were combined so much until I started watching, I think, Trigun. And that's rewatching Trigun. But and that's sci-fi and westerns. I love Cowboy Bebop. I love Trigun. I love The Mandalorian. When you combine sci-fis with, you know, a traditional American western like movie or TV show type genre, it's always great. I've never seen one that's better. And it's done more often than people think, especially in anime.
I feel okay. The Mandalorian. It's actually funny that you mentioned samurai because the Mandalorian's plot is basically I forget what it is, but it's a samurai movie where this guy.
Yeah, the thing that we should take into consideration is that samurai films were based off of American westerns.
I thought American westerns are based on samurai films.
It's one of those. I'm pretty sure it's
one of them. It's one of them. That's one of them. That's why the genres are so similar. Like, but all right. Well, while he's looking it up, the plot of The Mandalorian is essentially I don't remember the name of the movie.
I just want to say that I don't even have to look it up, and the reason I know that it's the other way, it's the way I said it, is because westerns were inspired by a real person that went through some wild stuff that you think would be out of a movie. And he wasn't a marshal, but he became a marshal. He went through some super wild stuff that seems like it should be in a movie, and there are several movies about it. And he's the reason why westerns exist, and people started basically making movies similar to the events he went through. And for the life of me, can't remember his name. The movie that's about him is called Tombstone. And he basically just went through something that's so wild. He literally went through like a western and survived. it was something out of a movie, and nobody can really be true. I mean, sure, if this is like 100% truth and he wasn't just lying, but based on what like a lot of people say, he isn't lying and he's telling the truth, and he went through all this stuff, and that's where westerns came from. Look up Tombstone.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm gonna have to watch this.
Yeah, Tombstone's really good. Kurt Russell, Wyatt Earp, that's his name. Wyatt Earp was the man that inspired westerns. He was basically a real life. I mean, cowboys really exist, but I mean, he was basically like the inspiration for all westerns.
Okay.
No, they didn't.
Oh yeah, no. Westerns, samurai movies were inspired by westerns, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, I knew I was right.
But there are.
I mean,
There are also
I was gonna say,
westerns inspired by samurai movies.
I was about to say, but I was just I know which one came first because westerns weren't inspired by like samurai. Westerns were inspired by like actual westerns, and then samurai films were inspired by westerns, and then it kind of just went in a circle. And American people saw samurai movies and started making westerns based off samurai movies, and samurai movies were based off westerns, so they kind of were just making movies that were kind of inspired by themselves. That was a weird tangent to go off on, but I mean, not really.
It was. Hold on.
It really wasn't, because we were just talking about the Mandalorian being a western, and for there to be a samurai version of that. And was it?
Yeah.
What's the name of the episode? The episode where you first meet the lady. What's her name?
Episode 4. Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, yeah. When we first meet her, it's basically based off Seven Samurai. And as much as I've never seen that movie, and I'm never gonna watch that movie because that movie's like 3 hours and 45 minutes long. I'm not gonna watch that movie. It's way too long. Maybe in pieces, but even then, I don't know. It's just.
I'm definitely planning to watch it in pieces.
But I've seen like some of my favorite episodes of shows are based off of Seven Samurai, where it's people come to a village of people that are like under attack, and they teach them how to fight back, and then they help them fight back. Like there was an episode of the Clone Wars about that. There was literally a show that's a sci-fi version of that called Samurai 7, and it's an anime. It's like a miniseries.
I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
I watched it a long time ago in Toonami. It's on, I think, Hulu right now. I might rewatch it eventually. But yeah, I love those type of episodes. Maybe I'll watch them eventually. It's way too long. Like I said, I would have to watch it in like 30, maybe 45-minute pieces, because sitting down and watching a movie for it would have to be something like Avengers, something that has been built up over 10 years that I have been waiting for 10 years to finally watch, for me to make me want to sit down and watch a movie that's over 3 hours long. Otherwise, there's no build up. It's just 3 hours long and it's critically acclaimed. But otherwise, I have no insinuation to watch that movie. That probably wasn't even the right word to use, but still. Anyway, back to Mandalorian.
Yes, Mandalorian.
But yeah, like we were saying, it's like it's a western. It's a western in space, and it still manages to show kind of like a smaller view of the Star Wars universe while still expanding on previous things, like what happened to Mandalorians. What we're probably about to find. We're definitely going to find out what Ahsoka's been doing after. Because this is
Ahsoka has been out looking for Ezra with Sabine. Like I feel like people keep forgetting the fact that the end of Rebels takes place the exact same year as Mandalorian.
Yeah, no, I know that she's looking for him. I'm just saying, like, well, also a lot of people probably don't know that. Or a lot of people don't even know who she is. When they see her, they can be like, oh, who's this cool looking Jedi woman? But we don't know in detail exactly what she's been doing. So it'll be cool to actually see what she's been up to. We just know
I feel like
looking for Ezra.
I feel like Sabine's gonna be with her. Like I feel like people keep like Star Wars accounts I follow, but
so I feel like Sabine's gonna be with her too.
Yeah, because like literally the end of Rebels, like the last scene of Rebels takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, which is the same year The Mandalorian takes place. So it's just like they were leaving together like when that started, unless this takes place like right before that scene or something like that. Like they were leaving together to go find Ezra. So I'm like, they gotta find him. Like, and plus there's like rumors of a Rebels sequel show.
Yeah,
If they make that, I swear to God, my life will be complete. Like,
yeah.
oh my God, I will.
For me, I think I don't know. There's just so many possibilities for what they can do with Star Wars that I feel like they don't do, and they also have like a vault of non-canon material that they could make canon if they decide to.
Oh, for sure. Like the Star Wars Legends.
They have a vault of just ideas upon ideas from Legends that they could pull out and use whenever they want and like change to like fit in the story wherever they want to make it fit. Like they have
Yeah,
a
no,
vault of things they can use. They refuse to use it sometimes though. The only
they.
reason, the only
That's
reason,
not just they refuse to like.
the only reason
They
any,
just act like it doesn't exist.
yeah, the only reason any of it ever makes it out is because the some of the writers and directors will purposely put that stuff into their movies and comics or whatever, like
Yeah.
because they want people to see this part of the universe that has been buried by the people that are currently hitting up Lucasfilm, and they have so much,
One,
they have so much stuff, and
they really do.
burying it for no reason.
One of the reasons I like Solo so much, it's my second favorite Star Wars movie. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that. A lot of people don't like Solo. I don't know why you don't like Solo. It's a fun movie. Like, there's no reason not to like the movie. One of the reasons I like Solo so much is it takes almost everything about Han Solo's backstory and changes almost none of it. Like Han Solo, the basic rundown of Han Solo's backstories in backstory in Star Wars Legends, which is what like the giant treasure trove of like 40 years of video games, books, comics, like all that stuff that Disney just decided to wipe away and make non-canon. Star Wars Legends, his basic rundown is he was an Imperial stormtrooper. He was in training to be an Imperial stormtrooper. He saw Chewbacca and his mistreatment as a Wookiee because the Empire was using Wookiees as slaves. He didn't like that. He helped Chewbacca start a coup or something like that to like free the Wookiees. They wound up becoming best friends and going on the run from the Empire. Basically, and became smugglers and outlaws. Like, that's basically what it was, and that's basically what the movie was. So I'm like, they stuck to that pretty clearly, and I really like that. There's just so much they could really pull from in Legends.
And even
all
though,
of Knights of the Old Republic
say,
is literally
even though I've never played any of those games, they like or like they're pulling stuff from Star Wars games and putting it into the Mandalorian, which is super dope. And
Dark Troopers.
The Mandalorian already feels like an RPG. It feels like a video game because he feels like he goes on side quests and he just
fetch quests.
He does stuff all the time. It feels like a literal video game sometimes when he's going off and doing stuff. Like the second episode felt like something from video game. It felt like some side quest. He ran into a boss spider. And that the baby.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Like
the baby eating those eggs were weird. It was weird. It weirded me out. Him eating those eggs weirded me out.
I knew I couldn't be the only one that got weirded out by that.
Because when he first,
I'm glad that other people were also weirded out by it. To me, it's dumb to think that or to be like, people are like, oh, cancel the show, cancel. That's stupid to me.
Like, we eat eggs. Like, it's not that deep. Like,
yes, we eat eggs all the time. Like,
but like the first time he did it, I was like, oh God, that's horrifying. Why? And then he kept doing it. And I was like, no, please, God, why do you keep making him do this? This is unnecessary. This didn't need to happen. The story could have went on fine without him eating all of those eggs. The first time, sure. But he just kept doing it. And at the very end, at the very end, he just eats another one. And then in the episode after that, when he was playing with the little baby frog, I was scared he was going to eat that frog. Because
I knew he wasn't going to eat the frog.
He already eats frogs.
He does.
And then he eats frogs' eggs. So what's to keep him from eating his tadpole?
I knew he wasn't going to eat it. Was I wasn't worried about him eating the tadpole, honestly. But at the same time, maybe it was just me being too excited about Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorian showing up. Like that, I think that might have overshadowed it. Like, if I go back and watch it, I might be like, oh, don't eat it. But
that wig.
Yeah, no, I wasn't worried about it.
That wig was so obvious. And I'm the type
it really was. They could have done better with the wig.
I'm the type of person who almost never notices a wig while every other person goes, oh my God, that wig. it looks horrible. And I'm like, it doesn't even look like a wig to me. I thought that was her real
I'm
hair.
the same way, but I definitely
This
noticed it.
time I noticed it. I was like, first off, I know what her real hair looks like. So I knew that wasn't her real hair.
Yeah.
But also, it was very clearly, it looks like, sorry, it looks like it's attached to that like headband on her head. And she just put the headband on and the hair comes out of the headband.
Yeah.
It was cool to see her in live action.
It was really cool. I love Bo-Katan. I've always loved Bo-Katan. What I don't understand though, and even I had to look back at myself with this, Bo-Katan started out as basically a terrorist.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, Death Watch was a terrorist organization. And then she winds up becoming like over Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, she winds up becoming like a hero.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just weird to me how easy people are able to forget that she was a terrorist. Like, I forgot she was a terrorist, and I went back and watched Clone Wars because I made my mom watch all the Clone Wars and Rebels episodes that Mandalorians were in, just so she could understand. Because I knew she wasn't going to get the impact of the episode unless she saw that. But that made her go back and watch it.
Did you watch the end of season 7?
She did, because I made her watch like all the episodes.
If you're gonna watch all the Mandalorian episodes, you gotta watch the end of season 7. Those are like
I made her watch that. I made her watch the
first 3 episodes of the entire series. That show is so good.
Oh yeah. I made her watch that. I made her watch I made her watch basically every episode in Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars The Clone Wars that Mandalorian showed up in. Like, every single episode.
Did you?
Which...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's only like 21 episodes total, like, out of both shows. So, like, yeah, no, it's really only like 21 episodes. But,
I was gonna say, in reality, like, if you were to take it super, super literal, every episode featuring Mandalorians, then nearly every episode of Rebels would count because of Sabine. But
yeah, no, that's what I was saying. It was like only because obviously Sabine, but like I meant like stuff that was like important to Mandalorian, like history or culture or lore, like increasing the lore or something.
But speaking of Bo-Katan, did you see the outrage that one lady, like a lady on Twitter said about boob armor? And let me tell you something. So I watched a video by this dude who he basically made 2 other videos before talking about
was it Shadiversity?
Yeah, it was Shadiversity. And
I watch him all the time.
Yeah, and he was talking about the Bo-Katan situation, which first off, I want to start by saying this was like the most unnecessary, like, it made no sense. It isn't even noticeable to be, first off.
Yeah, it's not.
And the problem that a lot of people have with breast armor is that they literally, they make it the shape of the boob, so it's 2 cups. And the fear is that it'll hit one of the breasts and bounce off and go to the middle. And if the middle's weak, it'll go straight through and just, stab them in their sternum.
Or it'll bounce up into the neck.
Yeah, or it'll bounce up in the neck, which makes no reason because they wear neck cuffs. But that's my but what makes that even more ridiculous, because this lady said it without really knowing anything. She just said it because she knows that's a thing that people have outraged about before, just to say it. Because on her page, she calls herself feminist, and there's no problem with being a feminist in any way whatsoever. In a lot of ways, I am, but like, she is the type of person who throws out misinformation about fiction fiction with women in it, just for the sake of feminism, in quotes, like, and it makes no sense. Like, she, in the first episode of Mandalorian that came out, when did that come out? Earlier this year, or was it late last year? And my time...
Wait, of this season or of the show?
Time doesn't work for me anymore. I don't remember when the first season came out.
The first season came out last year.
Okay, because I legit didn't remember. It's been so long.
It came out late last year. It started in November of 2019.
So she made a tweet after watching the first episode saying, wow, really, a first episode of this show, there isn't even one woman in a speaking role. But literally, the leader of the Covenant was in the first episode, the Armorer, and that's a woman. But clearly she didn't know that. So she was just talking out of her backside because she clearly had no idea she was talking about, because the Armorer was a woman.
Yeah.
Like, even if you didn't want to assume her gender, they kind of do it by, like, one, you could just tell by the armor. If you want to say she has boob armor, whatever, she has breasts, and she's wearing a female Mandalorian helmet. Like, it was obvious that's a woman. and they weren't trying to trick people. That was a woman. And she was just saying, she says ridiculous stuff like that all the time. Like somebody said that she was like making fun of Bayonetta's skimpy clothing and said that had to be made by a man, obviously, because how skimpy it is. Little does she know, it wasn't. Bayonetta was designed by a woman. And people, and she just does stuff like that all the time. She even claimed that, I forget, she claimed in some video game that you got more points for killing women, which was just a blatant lie. I forgot what video game it was, but it was some popular video game. And she claimed that when you killed women, you got more points. It was so weird. And this one was just another case of her spreading misinformation to further her feminist agenda. And she's just giving feminists a bad name. Because she's just literally just spreading misinformation about video games and media. Specifically,
she claims to be a Star Wars fan too, which is
fiction.
The dumbest thing ever. And
then tons of women in the comments got on her like, no, boob armor isn't unrealistic. It makes sense. And a big thing that Chadversity pointed out was that, first off, I think people, like, they get their eyes kind of get, what's the phrase I'm trying to use? Like, they have rose-tinted glasses that are rose-tinted with feminism, and forgetting that back in those times when people wore armor, women weren't really fighting like that. Like, if you're going to be a feminist, you should know women have been treated horribly. So you think back then they were letting women fight? No, they weren't fighting. So the armor they were made surrounding the male form. But if women were fighting,
because there were women who did fight.
Yeah, there were women who fight, but not nearly as many as men.
Oh, but no, not nearly.
If just as many or more women were fighting than men, then eventually boob armor would have existed. Because armor follows trends in fashion, and they also are meant to exaggerate the human body's form. Like another example he used was in today's beauty standards for men, big shoulders, big chest, and big arms. So in armor, in fantasy, in modern fantasy creations today, when you see armor, the shoulder pads are huge. The chest is huge, and it usually has some intricate design on it, like a lion head or something like that. And then they have like, it's super tight on their waist, so it shows that they have like a thin waist. And then their legs are usually kind of small. But up top, they have big shoulders, big chest, and big arms. And that shows in the armor, where they they accentuate the chest and the arm and the shoulders. And if women were warriors for centuries like men were, well, they have been, but if more of them were, then eventually there would have been armor that literally accentuated women's chest. That's just a matter of fact. It would have happened. And I don't know. I don't remember her name. I don't really care to remember her name, but she's ridiculous. And she just spreads a bunch of misinformation.
My whole thing, and this will, this probably makes me madder than anything else. She claims to be a Star Wars fan, but it's mad that she gets mad that in this episode, 2 female Mandalorians have boob armor, completely ignoring the history of female Star Wars characters having boob armor.
Yeah. Oh, I also forgot to mention that because I started talking about how the problem with boob armor is that it's 2 boob cups with the little, cave in concaved in the middle, and it would bounce off and potentially hit their throat or the middle of their chest. And Bo-Katan's armor isn't even like that. It's just one. It like comes out. It comes out and goes down in the shape of her breast like this, and then it has a very slight dip in towards the diamond shape that all Mandalorians have in the middle of their armor. It's so slight you can't even really notice it. It barely dips into the middle. So it's really just one big round piece that basically is like any other medieval armor where, it's round in the front so that when they hit it, it bounces off to the side. So she was...
And like boob armor existed, and this is fairly realistic to boob armor that actually existed.
Like it's not as unrealistic as people think, by any means.
At all. Okay, enough talking about her, because she makes me mad as a human being. She makes me irritated.
We're an hour in, and this is probably going to be a long episode because we're talking about Star Wars. But let's before we get into video games, let's talk about the sequel trilogy. So I have a list of
Oh joy.
just how I feel about it, and the good, bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Start with the good because there are some good things despite how it turned out. Um, I like the first movie. You said you like the first movie too, right?
I do. It's actually. I would have to go back and look at my official list because it would take a lot for me to like actually put together another list. Your room is really dark.
Yeah, it just got dark all of a sudden.
Okay. It would take me a while to put together an official list again. I did like the first movie though of the sequel trilogy. I really liked The Force Awakens. I thought it was really good. It was the first live action. No, it was not because I actually saw A New Hope or not A New Hope. I saw Phantom Menace because they re-released Phantom Menace in 3D. Hold on one sec. Okay, they re-released Phantom Menace in 3D when I was younger, and my mother took me to go see that when I was younger. And so that was probably the first live-action Star Wars movie I saw in theaters. But that I was again I was a young kid, so
Yeah, I think the first one I saw in theaters was The Last Jedi.
no, I saw Force. I think Force Awakens was the one that I remember. The first one that I remember
Yeah,
seeing in
'cause I
theaters.
saw the first three on TV, and then I saw I think I also saw the prequels on TV, and I saw The Force Awakens on DVD, and um, then when The Last Jedi came out, I went and saw that in theaters, and I went to see Rise of Skywalker in theaters as well.
I saw all of the sequel trilogy in theaters. Wasn't happy with The Last Jedi. Let's put it like that. We're
It's
not
funny.
there yet, but
The light
I was very happy with Force Awakens.
the light on my wall makes it look like the way that like the walls look.
The wall panels in Star
Yeah,
Wars look.
potato chips. um, but yeah. So for me, what the good parts were for me personally, but you might disagree with some of it, but I mean, like most stories, some like a lot of stories, you start and you have a bunch of really interesting like concepts, but you don't develop them properly, and that's what makes things bad. And that's basically what happened with this story. I think the coolest thing for me was the dyad between Ray and Kylo. That was cool. I like that. I actually found that interesting and could see the potential of it going somewhere. And J.J. Abrams kind of went and kind of just he went and tried to like undo a lot of of Ryan Johnson's work.
That's because he didn't intend for that to be a thing. Like that's like Ryan Johnson kind of took everything that J.J. Abrams was building up and was kind of like, nope, we're gonna do my thing, and just like kind of like threw it all to the side.
It was weird, and I'm just go back and forth between the good, bad, and the ugly rather than focusing on one. And I'm just saying that's that's the ugly for me. That's the worst part of it is that they had no direction, and that it was just they didn't have like a person like Kevin Feige, kind of having a strict plan for the way this trilogy should go, and then leaving the specific details up to the directors while still letting them Feige looks over stuff. He checks it and makes sure that it makes sense within the timeline that he's created. Nobody was doing that for this. It was just
Nobody.
JJ went in, made a movie, that was it. And he didn't expect to come back. He expected Ryan Johnson to come in, and then who was supposed to direct the third one before JJ came back?
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, but yeah, and then like you said, Ryan Johnson just did his own thing without any regard to anything that JJ was setting up. He just went and did his own thing, and it. How do you feel about the Last Jedi?
Worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you liked it or not. I don't think I've ever talked to you about the Last Jedi.
It didn't feel like a Star Wars movie for one. To me, and I have friends. I have friends that like The Last Jedi. I have a friend of mine actually that is probably one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know. One of my closest friends too. He was one of his favorite Star Wars movies. I disagree heavily. I do not think The Last Jedi did not feel like a Star Wars movie. The Last Jedi felt pretty pointless, all in all. All it really did was set up more of a force dyad between Rey and Kylo, and then kill off Luke. In my eyes, it's really the most that it did.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
Everything else is basically pointless. The entire plot of the movie doesn't make like it makes no difference in the larger scheme of things. Uh, Snoke died, but like that that was really it. Like they're like Kylo Ren was set up to be like in charge of the First Order. They got rid of that immediately in Rise of Skywalker. Palpatine was now in charge of the First Order. And turns out he was the whole time. And I'm just like, The Last Jedi, everything that movie did could have been changed and been so much better.
Yeah. Well, I feel about The Last Jedi is one of the things I hate the most is what they did with Finn. And his whole storyline was boring. I didn't care.
It wasn't just boring, it was pointless.
It
didn't matter.
Because it amounted to absolutely nothing. There was no payoff. He just went with what was her name? The
Rose.
Rose. He went off with Rose, and they went and did something that ended up not mattering. And this was a weird role for Benicio del Toro. I mean, it was weird. DJ
he was pointless as a character. Finn and Rose both were pointless as characters. Yeah, no, that entire side plot was like so they could go get fuel or something like. I don't know. I've only seen The Last Jedi once because every time I try to go back and rewatch it, it just makes me mad. So like that entire side plot, to my knowledge, was just they go back to go like finish it and then. To go get like more fuel or something like that from some guy who's supposed to be like a code master, and then turns out the guy wasn't a code master. So then they get captured by the First Order. He was a traitor. They get captured by the First Order and then escape, but they didn't get the fuel after all. So then they wind up in the same place that they did before it started. Like
it was literally unnecessary. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And like you said, that whole plot with Finn and Rose could basically sum up the entirety of the movie. It amounted to nothing.
They end in the same place that they begin.
Unlike The Empire Strikes Back, where literally the whole thing was about Luke's character development. It was about him making mistakes so that when Return of the Jedi came, he was a better Jedi. He was a better person because he made mistakes and learned from them. No one made any mistakes in this movie. That's another one of my biggest criticisms. Rey does not make mistakes. She's considered like a perfect character, so she never has any character development. And she starts off really powerful. She should have got the mess beat out of her by Kylo in that first fight. And then Chewie should have came and like saved her or something. And then they escape. It shouldn't have been she pulls the lightsaber to her and then magically defeats this man, because that injury on his leg wasn't enough.
It wasn't his leg, it was his side.
Yeah, it was on his side wasn't enough to stop him from destroying Finn, who was just as skilled with that lightsaber as Rey was. Rey didn't have,
if not more, because he had the lightsaber for the majority of the movie.
Exactly, and even more because he probably had a bit of training fighting with stick weapons with the stormtroopers. Like,
right,
she was less qualified to use that lightsaber than he was. Other than the fact that she was force sensitive, which turns out he was too. So it still doesn't make sense. And that's another good thing that is also bad. Finn was force sensitive, and they didn't go far enough with it. I think that JJ always wanted Finn to be force sensitive, but Rian Johnson ignored it because he didn't care. And so JJ didn't even have enough time to develop it in a third movie. It was just a passing, hey, Rey, I have something to tell you. Never tells her.
Right.
And supposedly, it was because he was force sensitive. And that would have been cool. Because most Star Wars movies, other than the prequel trilogy, because obviously there were tons of Jedi in that movie. But like, in a lot of Star Wars content, it's like this one force-sensitive kid is trained by this other force-sensitive, older person. And that's what this movie is setting up to be again. Most of Jedi did. It's only like Luke and a few people that he trained that probably ran away. Not ran away. He straight up abandoned them because he stopped training them after what happened with Kylo. That would actually be a cool plot line to follow. Some of those people he were training that he kind of just left behind. But it was cool that there were two force sensitive people rather than just one, like there usually is. Like it was just Ezra, it was just Luke. It was there was other Jedi, but Anakin was like the main character. But this time it could have been multiple.
That's part of the reason I like Legends continuity after the original trilogy so much. The New Republic era in Legends is probably my favorite because there's a big boom of new Jedi There's a new Jedi Order. Luke isn't the only person in charge of the Jedi Order. There's Kyle Katarn. There's Mara Jade. There's like new Jedi Masters. Kakruk, who's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Now that I'm learning more about him, he's basically if you watch the original like 2003 Clone Wars show, he was one of the Jedi. He was like the furry one that got killed by Grievous, but it turns out that his species, they never really die. And so he winds up being like older than Yoda. And it's like every time they die, it's kind of like Superman where they go into like a hypersleep and heal. And then they come back, and it turns out they didn't really die at all. And so Kakruk survived Order 66, and he grabbed a couple of younglings and went off on another planet. And during the time of the original trilogy, they were just in hiding, and he was teaching them as Jedi. Like the entire time the original trilogy was happening, just hidden off-world on some other world, and came back after the original trilogy was over. Like, that would have been, like, really cool, like, to see in, like, a movie. Like, I would love to see that, and they didn't do any of that. They just threw it all away, like.
Yeah, I also like another thing I like because I like Poe. I think Poe was a cool character, and I think
Poe is one of my favorite characters in the trilogy.
A great thing that they show, and it's actually, and the only reason it's ever good is because of how good the actors are. It's never because of, it has nothing to ever do with the writing, but their friendship is it's earnest, and you feel it,
yeah,
and you like it when Rey, Poe, and Finn interact with each other because they seem like actually good friends. But that has nothing to do with the writing because they definitely don't build up their friendship whatsoever.
At all. It just comes out of nowhere.
They do not build up. Like, Poe and Finn a little bit because they basically
But that was just because of the first movie.
Yeah, because they saved each other's lives. Otherwise, they never build up their friendship like they did Han, Leia, and Luke in the original trilogy. It kind of they just speed everything forward, and then you get to the third movie, and all of a sudden they're best friends. And somehow they're friends with C-3PO, even though C-3PO has barely known them for any amount of time. And he's like, I just want to take one last look at my friends. You don't know them.
Yeah.
You've known them for like 2 days, 3PO. They're not your friends. I feel like Chewie should have been there. But
it also doesn't help that The Last Jedi picks up like right after The Force Awakens ends. Like maybe if there was like maybe like a month or two of time in between, it'd make more sense, but it picks up like the exact moment that The Force Awakens ends because Rey's about to hand the lightsaber to Luke. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, I but bro, that's
it's basically was just a bunch of interesting ideas that went nowhere. like I said,
you had to write.
Even though this wasn't JJ's plan, if they actually like JJ, the dude that was supposed to direct the third movie and Rian Johnson worked together like they should have from the beginning to make these 3 movies, it could have turned out beautifully. And they could have still incorporated the idea of the Force dyad. Admittedly, I don't like the way they did it, but I like the idea.
Yeah, I don't like the way they did it either.
I like the idea of the romance. I just don't like the way they did it.
And like, what's worse?
The idea of their minds being connected and they like forming a connection through that and then becoming romantically involved because of that made sense. But the way they went about it just made him seem like the ultimate abusive person, and then she ends up being with him. And I'm like, no, that's not really sending a great message.
I feel like what's worse is that I don't remember if this was a J.J. Abrams tweet or what. I wound up not reading the article. I just saw like something about it. As somebody responding to something. It was like a screenshot from Twitter where somebody was responding to someone who was like, oh my God, I love Rey and Kylo. And somebody responded with a screenshot where it was like some interview with J.J. Abrams where J.J. Abrams was like, oh yeah, Rey and Ben have a brother-sister type relationship or something like that. I could not stop laughing at that, especially because J.J. was the one that made them kiss, which is just like the weirdest thing ever. But it's just like, what was the point of that? Like,
yeah, I said, like, I like the romance. I actually think it was it could have been good.
If they had potential. Like everything in the sequel trilogy, it had potential.
Like if they put more thought into it, it should have been more properly built up in The Last Jedi. Through the dyad. But like I said, they didn't work together. It didn't turn out good. Let me see if there's anything outside of that. Other than like people kind of overuse the term Mary Sue, but Rey was actually a Mary Sue. Like
very much so.
She was just And it's why people didn't like Captain Marvel. She was also a very Sue, where she made no
I
mistake.
didn't mind Captain Marvel that much,
No, definitely.
honestly.
I also like Captain Marvel, but I understand why people don't like it because
Yeah.
she was seemingly much like Rey, a perfect character who became really powerful, really fast, and nothing ever went wrong for her. And
I
I
feel like
people didn't like that because it was essentially meant that there was no character development. There was way more character development for Captain Marvel than there was Rey.
that's what I'm saying, because I feel like the thing with Captain Marvel, one of the reasons I like Captain Marvel was because she did get really powerful really fast. And this is what they should have done with Rey, is that instead of making it so she struggles with her powers, she struggles with being so overconfident and being like, she puts herself in a lot more situations than she should, or than she could, if she wasn't so confident. And that to me is where her flaws come from.
There you go.
Meanwhile, Rey has that like level of power, and then still has like the perfect personality. She's like, no,
Yeah,
like
like
there's got to be some type of flaw.
yeah, you're absolutely right. There needed to be a flaw there, and like the problem isn't that she was so strong; it's that there was no other flaw to kind of like balance out that strength. Like you said, if she was overconfident with that strength and didn't really know how to use it and was putting herself in situations in dangerous situations all the time, and she had to learn how not to do that, it would have been way more interesting than it. Like in
Yeah,
Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel was super overconfident. She was confident in everything she did, and even though she barely suffered
she
consequences.
did. No, I'll admit that she barely suffered
She barely
consequences for
suffered
that, but
consequences.
she still suffered consequences. Like
Like
at least a little is better than nothing.
Rey didn't suffer any consequences, and she was meant to be this super noble, nice, wants to save the universe person, while also being super powerful and seemingly being able to control her powers immediately.
Yeah,
They tried to make it seem
like
like she was struggling with the dark side when she really wasn't, and it was very obvious that she
at
wasn't.
all.
It didn't make any sense. And also,
I feel like they went that route.
how do you feel about Luke in The Last Jedi?
Um, I'm not gonna lie. Out of everything in The Last Jedi that I hate, that's probably the biggest thing that
Okay,
I hate in The Last Jedi.
weird because I felt like I legit have never talked to you about The Last Jedi, and that's weird because
We have it like that.
I feel like I should know all these things, but I don't because I wasn't sure if you liked it or you did like it because I know some people who do like it. I'm on the side of like all the people who dislike it because like we were talking about the original trilogy, how he grew as a character. He grew so much. He made mistakes and he came back from them. He literally lost a part of his body
Yeah,
by making a mistake. And he came back and became a better Jedi because of it. For him to feel the darkness in Kylo and immediately try to kill Kylo, despite the fact that with his father, who had murdered
Galley like
hundreds of people, no, millions of people, because the Death Star is partly his fault. He went out of his way to save that man, despite that. So you think that this little kid who's never done anything wrong, who is who is struggling a little bit with the dark side because he's a kid. Luke struggled with the dark side a little bit as well. So Luke would have understood where Kylo was coming from and why Kylo could have potentially become evil because he potentially could have become evil. And he would have, just
yeah,
like he did with his father, showed him the light side. He would not have tried to kill that boy. And I hate the fact that people try to justify it. There is no justification. Luke would not have tried to kill that boy. He would have did the same thing he did with his father and tried to bring him to the light side. It made no sense that people tried to justify the fact that Rian Johnson made Luke a hermit who tried to kill his nephew for no reason.
and even George Lucas, like George Lucas's plans for that. Apparently, George Lucas would have done a very similar thing, and like people are like, oh, well, if you don't like the sequel trilogy, you must have like or you must like George Lucas's plans for what the sequel trilogy was going to be. But George Lucas is going to do the same thing.
George Lucas
No, I don't like that.
George
Like,
Lucas has done he's had a lot of really bad ideas, and the reason any of his
yeah,
stuff turns out good is because he has people behind him going, "Hey, George, don't do that. That no."
right.
He has other people. He's not the sole writer. He has a team of people. He had a team of people behind him telling him if something was ridiculous. Like,
I personally like Legends Luke Skywalker. People call that fan fiction Luke Skywalker. I don't understand because they're like, oh, he's so powerful, or oh, he's so perfect. He's not so perfect. He still does make mistakes, but he doesn't turn to the dark side. He doesn't try to kill.
I feel like Luke could have been a character that suffered from overconfidence because he was super calm and confident at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. Like, he was confident that he was going to be able to do what he needed to do. And in a way, he did kind of, that confidence did kind of like waver when like he fell into that pit and he was like, and he had to fight that monster. I don't know why I can't remember the names of
the Rancor.
I literally always forget names. But when he fell down there with the Rancor, that was him being super confident, and then immediately his confidence being shattered, being, oh yeah, I should probably stop being an idiot right now and actually just do what I need to do. Because he just walked in and thought he was just going to be that nigga. I'm going to have to cut that out. And and then he got, I'm going to bleep that or something. And then he got thrown down there with the Rancor.
Yeah, no, Legends of Skywalker to me felt like the natural evolution of who Luke Skywalker should have been. He was kind, he was humble, he was literally a Jedi master. He was the greatest Jedi to ever live. And yes, he was confident. I mean, he was literally like controlling black holes and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he's really overpowered, but like,
you know what's crazy? We always give, whenever we see trailers for even if it's anything, for people who like super big franchises like Star Wars and Marvel, when we see trailers, we try to give this, what goes less for Marvel, because I feel like when it comes to Marvel has a cohesive universe, but Star Wars in this case didn't, and we gave them more credit than they actually should have gotten when we were analyzing the trailers, thinking that they were going to try to push the idea of gray Jedi and being in between like the dark and the light. They did none of that. And if they did, they failed. And I felt like that's something that I feel like Luke would have explored. I feel like he 100% would have realized, like, Luke, he has emotions. Like, people have emotions. And the idea of not building connections, like he would have that connection with his sister. It's shown very clearly he loves his sister a lot. Yeah. And unlike his father, I feel like he would have felt the way to be able to balance his emotions and still use his passion and his love for his family and his sister and his friends in a way that doesn't drive him towards the dark side. I feel like that's the type of person Luke would have become. He would have become kind of like that gray Jedi thing that Ahsoka what kind of was.
Well, I mean, she still is.
Yeah, at the very end, she became a Jedi. Like, they even hinted at it in I mean, technically this was after Rebels, but in Clone Wars season 7, when she was talking to Yoda, he said something about her rejoining if she was a Jedi again, and she was like, not yet. Like, it was very obvious that she was going to become a Jedi again eventually.
I'm kind of glad she didn't, though, because like even in Rebels, she's like, I'm no Jedi. I like the fact that she's not a Jedi, because in canon, the Jedi were very hypocritical and
super hypocritical. Yeah. That's something I want to talk about, because
wait, just hold on real quick, because I just wanted to, we keep like blanking on stuff. But that's what I was thinking. Like, that's what I was saying about Luke Skywalker, though. In Legends, with his new Jedi Order, he was nowhere near as like strict or anything as the old Republic's Jedi Order was. With the new Jedi Order, he allowed marriage. He got married. He allowed marriage. He allowed attachments and romance. He didn't force Jedi to wear robes or use lightsabers. There were Jedi that used blasters and didn't own a lightsaber. Like, it was so much different. Like, he saw the flaws of the old Jedi Order and he changed them. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't the same. Like, it was not the same Jedi Order. And I feel like that's a potential. The sequel trilogy had potential to like really show that, and they didn't whatsoever.
Bunch of uncivilized Jedi.
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized.
This is also in Legends, but it was in canon.
And like,
it didn't just use kyber crystals. You literally loaded a lightsaber in. Like, the lightsaber was the country.
Lightsaber into it, and then it kills the kyber crystal, but
yeah, but it's a gun. Like, you loaded it with a lightsaber.
You're just carrying a mini Death Star in your hands at all times. Yeah. or many Starkiller Base, because Starkiller Base used kyber crystals, didn't it? Because wasn't that
The
supposed
Death Star used kyber crystals. I'm pretty sure the Death Star used
yeah,
kyber
because it's
crystals.
supposed to be Ilum that they kept saying.
Yeah.
Like it was cool when I know we're gonna get to this but in the not the Last Jedi my brain stopped working. Fallen Order, when at the end of the game when you go back to Ilum and it looks like Starkiller Base, and
Yeah.
then basically confirming yes, Starkiller Base is Ilum, and also it there has to be other planets with kyber crystals, right?
There are, well, at least there were in Legends, of course, with Legends, the 40 years of expansive material.
Because I hate the fact that like I don't know if, like if it's the like you said that was in Legends, but I hate the fact that in canon it's kind of like Ilum is the only place where kyber
Yeah.
are, and I feel like there would be other places.
There were in Legends. I don't know if there are in canon. Maybe they just haven't expanded on that yet, but
Yeah, because
so far,
people keep getting kyber crystals, despite the fact that Ilum is a giant death laser. But what was I gonna talk about? I was gonna say, dang, I forgot. I want to talk about Knights of the Old Republic. I guess we might as well transition into video games a bit, and then we'll come back to animation and talk about the Clone Wars and Rebels. But what I like about Knights of the Old Republic, even though I'm not big in RPGs, and it's a bit too outdated for me personally. Like I have nothing.
it still holds up in my opinion.
I have nothing against I have nothing against old games. There are plenty of older games I'll play, but that's just one that's just it's not too old because it's not that old. But just the gameplay loop is too old. The loop of the game.
I'm telling you, man, you just have to play it.
Not only is it just too old, but it's also an old RPG. I already just barely like modern RPGs. I definitely won't like an old RPG. So, but what I like about
I'm telling you,
not even
like
what I like about that time period in general, and I've told you about it before, is that the amount of Sith and Jedi were pretty much equal, and there were just as many Sith as there were Jedi, and they also explore the in between way more, and it isn't so black and white like how Star Wars tends to be. Even though technically the Jedi tend to be, they show how flawed the Jedi are in the prequels. Especially with Mace. Mace was just he was like
Mace gets a bad rep.
Look,
Mace gets a bad rep. He's not nearly as bad as people say he is. He's really not.
I love Mace, but here's the thing: Mace had every right. Because after watching that movie, I was like, Mace had every right to dislike Anakin. Anakin was an evil. He really was, and Mace saw it. Mace really saw it, and the thing is, though. You know what? Forget it. We're gonna go back to animation because now that we bring up Mace, I feel like we can't skip over the Clone Wars because I want to talk about the Clone Wars in relation to the prequels and how in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, they show Anakin constantly battling with the dark side. They never really show him ever being a good person. He's always kind of just being like. I'm trying to think of a way to say this without cursing, because I just want to call him an asshole. Like he almost always is just falling to the dark side. Every 5 seconds, he gets upset or angry and emotional. Whereas in the Clone Wars, they show him being a good person, and sometimes they show him a lot of time being level-headed. And then they also show him slowly sometimes getting, specifically the reason that he goes to the dark side is because of Padme. And they emphasize that in the show, like when he's away from Padme, he's usually perfectly level-headed, and he's doing everything he can to do whatever he needs to do and get stuff done. But whenever he's around Padme in the show, that's when his emotions come out, and he starts to get upset and angry, and you really see the dark side coming out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's never shown in the movies. So most people. Like you said, people feel weird about Padme and Anakin's romance in Attack of the Clones. That's because they don't have an example of him being a good person. They just see him being that horrible person that he is in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And
he's horrible. He's whiny. He's bratty.
He's super whiny and bratty. Like his attempts at flirting with Padme come off super creepy every time.
Yeah.
they come off super creepy, and I see why people weren't a fan of Attack of the Clones, because Anakin is kind of creepy and just whiny the entire time. And the Clone Wars, they make him seem like you're like, oh, I could see how a woman would fall in love with Anakin in the Clone Wars. I can see he's a great guy. They honestly, the reason literally two characters became my two favorite characters because of the Clone Wars cartoon. Ahsoka became my very favorite character, and Anakin became my second favorite Star Wars character because of the Clone Wars cartoon.
Okay.
They showed Anakin in a good light, a light that he's never shown in. He's a great person. Or he was until, Padme, he got the visions of her dying, and he's like, oh, I don't like this. I need to stop this. I need to stop this from happening. I like that. I really like what they do with Anakin in the Clone Wars. And I mean, they also focus on the clones a lot, because the clones were just they were just floating heads on CGI bodies. And you know what's funny? The clones have never not been CG. That's hilarious.
That is actually really funny.
The clones have literally I don't think there's been clone armor in live action.
I'm pretty sure there were a couple of clones that weren't CGI, if I remember correctly.
I'm talking about
I could have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure a couple of them weren't CGI, but it's very few and far between.
Yeah, for the most part, they've been mostly CGI. They were CGI in the movies, and they were CGI in the cartoon. Clones have, for the most part, always been CGI. And rewatching these movies, I never realized exactly, because I felt like I wasn't sure how much. I'm really mad that I forget names like this. I know Tamora Morrison, because I want to mention Tamora Morrison. But what is the name of the voice actor that voices all of the clones and Appa and Momo? What is his name?
Well, I don't remember actually. Let me.
He voices so many. D. Bradley Baker. So
D. Bradley Baker.
I didn't realize how close the accent he was doing was actually to Tamora Morrison's, because, like I said, I hadn't watched the prequel trilogy since I was a kid. So recently, when I rewatched them, was my first time watching them in a long time. So I was like, oh, okay, he does sound pretty much exactly like Tamora Morrison. Oh, I forgot to mention let me go back to my notes real quick, because there's something I forgot to mention that involved the prequel trilogies. The Knights of Ren were like Boba Fett. They look cool. They could have been cool, but then they showed up on the screen for 5 seconds and got killed by one of the main characters. The Knights of Ren were the Boba Fett of the prequel trilogy.
And I love Boba Fett. Boba Fett's one of my favorite characters. Cool. Reading his comics and stuff,
he's cool.
He's awesome.
Everywhere except the movies.
Yeah.
Even in the show, he's just barely anybody.
Well, I really hope they change that. I do hope they change that.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Mandalorian actually shows us how cool Boba actually is. But yeah, the Knights of Ren were like Boba, because I feel like weren't they supposed to be like some of the people that were being trained by Luke that Kylo?
There were rumors about that, but I don't think that was ever confirmed.
Yeah, see, look, I think that's another example of us giving those writers more credit than they actually needed. We were making it seem like they were doing these spectacular things. Our fan theories were better than what actually happened. If they were actually some of the Padawan that became Sith and started working with Kylo, that would have been cool, and they could have had some cool fights with
Oh no, I do remember.
Oh, that would have made it even better. It would have made even more sense why they would need 2 Jedi in Finn and Rey if they were fighting 7 Jedi, Kylo and the Knights of Ren. Then it's okay.
No, but you want to hear something?
And you got Luke.
You want to hear something even stupider? You want to hear what makes it stupider?
Go ahead.
I completely forgot about this. I blanked on this. They're making the Ben Solo comics or whatever that take place in between episodes 6 and 7. The Knights of Ren weren't even Jedi. They were, if I'm remembering correctly, because I didn't read the Ben Solo comics, because I'm not a big Kylo Ren fan. I wasn't looking to read those. The Knights of Ren were basically just a weird force worshipping cult, and their leader, the Ren or whoever he is, has a red lightsaber, and that's about it. That's literally what it was, and it's just that's stupid. They were just a force worshipping cult. They weren't even that cool.
I feel like I just blew my own mind with a great idea. They could have been force users. They could have been the Padawan that Kylo took with him, and it would have justified them having 2 Jedi Padawan with Luke, and then it would be Luke, Finn, and Rey against those 6, or maybe 7 if Kylo's there. And of course, Luke would probably just fight 3 by himself. Why? While they try to fight the rest. But
I remember in between Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, there was like a leak or something with the script where like as soon as the Last Jedi starts, Luke is trying to train Rey on the island. I think this is like a YouTube video or something. Luke is trying to train Rey on Ahch-To or something, and then the Knights of Ren come down and attack them, and then Luke like kills like 3 or 4 of them on his own or something like that. I'm like, Yoda, that would have been cool, and then that didn't happen.
Yeah, if they showed,
it's just like, bro.
If they showed Luke just being a buck, that's another thing that I hate is that one. I think Luke. I wish he looked like he did in I don't know. I like the way he looks when he's wearing all black in that kind of like turtleneck like thing with the short hair. I kind of just wanted him to look like that because that's the image I think.
I like his design.
Whenever I think of Luke, I think of him in that black, in all black with the short hair.
I like Luke's design in The Last Jedi, and I think that's where, because I do, especially when he became Grand Master Luke Skywalker, that's a lot closer to what he wore, and I like that. That's about where my enjoyment of sequel trilogy Luke stops. Like, I like his design. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But yeah. You have any more to say about Clone Wars? Or well, we can talk about Rebels as well. I forgot about that.
Oh, I love Rebels. Honestly, and I always get hate whenever I say this. I like Rebels more than I like Clone Wars.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, for me, I feel like it would.
Go ahead.
I don't think I'm gonna like it more than I like Clone Wars by the end, but I think it'd probably be close. And I think a reason why I potentially might is because it's just as good of a story in a shorter amount of time. And when something gets stretched out, you can sometimes stories get padded out when they get stretched out. And the first season of Clone Wars is it's more childish. The first season and the second season a little bit as well. And then Clone Wars slowly gets more mature as it goes along. And Rebels is pretty much going along the same path as far as I've gone. I actually haven't watched it since the last time I told you I was watching it because I was too busy. I don't even think I was watching anything. I was playing Spider-Man and I was watching Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. That's about it.
Okay. All right. The reason I like Rebels more. One, I like a lot of the characters a lot more. Like, clones are cool. I like the clones. But I also don't like the. Well, no, that's not true. I like Rex. I like Cody. I like Fives, even though Fives died.
R.I.P. Fives. R.I.P. most of the clones.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. like 90% of the clones.
Yeah, except.
And I like Gregor.
R.I.P. every clone except Rex.
I like a lot of clones, but none of the clones to me are as interesting as any of the Jedi. Like, even like no-name Jedi that have like tragic deaths have either really cool designs or like something that they're doing before they die that's really cool. There, I'm like, I want to know more about that Jedi than I do any of these clones. Like, I don't care much about the clones. And then like the episodes that weren't focused on either clones or Jedi felt like what most people complain about with the Phantom Menace, where it's too political. Well, saying the words too political irritate me, but like it focused on politics. Like there's an entire episode where it's like Bail Organa is trying to like negotiate to get food and rations to a planet, and I'm like, I don't care. Like,
I feel like the thing about Clone Wars is that unlike the movies, like even though I watched it, I think I watched it on the anniversary of the Phantom Menace back in May. Is when I watched the last time I watched the Phantom Menace. Because I was watching it with a friend who'd never seen any of the Star Wars movies, and I don't really remember any of the political stuff, honestly. Whenever I think of Phantom Menace, I just think of that ending fight scene and Duel of Fates. But
the thing people say about the politics is that it's
that political, because Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith aren't that political. So is the first movie more political than those two?
I feel like the thing about the politics in the movie, people complain. The only real political scenes are Padme trying to ally with the Gungans so they can have protection against or so they can have the Gungan army help fight against the Separatists. And then Padme's stand-in when they go to Coruscant and they wind up getting Palpatine elected Chancellor from like emergency powers and stuff like that. And I don't even find all that any of that like boring or anything either. Because it's just like they're not super long scenes. So it's like
I feel like in the political scenes in the prequels aren't really that lengthy. But
they're not.
On the Clone Wars, on the other hand, they have entire 30-minute episodes focused on it. And those, like you said, I'm not a fan of those episodes because it's Star Wars. Like, yeah, there are politics in this, and it's known for that at this point because of the prequels. But you never want to really focus on it too much. Like the prequels never focused on it too much. They just basically did it for exposition to let you know what's happening, and then they moved on. And having a whole episode about, like, I mean, I like Organa, but I didn't need a whole episode about it.
Yeah, I know, I love Bail Organa. Bail Organa's cool, but like,
I didn't need a whole.
It's just like. The coolest parts of that episode.
I'll just say the coolest political episodes are the ones where it's like Anakin and Obi-Wan are trying to protect Padme from something. Like, because she's like they're escorting either Padme or some other politician to some place to negotiate something. It's usually either Padme or Jar Jar.
I think that episode is Innocence of No, it's not Innocence of Ryloth. That's an Obi-Wan episode. The coolest parts of that episode in my eyes, because the backdrop of the episode is a Jedi and his platoon of clones are basically trying to protect this freedom fighter group of I'm trying not to say Rylothians because I feel like it's not the right word. These freedom fighter group on Ryloth, they're trying to protect them and keep moving them back and basically get them off planet, but they can't do it because they're running out of ammunition, they're running out of food, and they're running out of all this stuff. The Jedi spoiler, well, we already said we're going to spoil everything. The Jedi and the clone and their clone troop, the clone platoon, die. Like, they all get killed by the end of the episode because they're sacrificing themselves trying to buy time for the freedom fighters to escape. And so Bail Organa, of course, because he's a master negotiator, winds up getting the food and supplies and ammo.
I remember that episode because I'm sitting here trying to remember. Yeah. I was like, what? I remember that episode. Yeah.
So by the end of the episode, they like get them off, but like the Jedi, the clone, and like the stuff on Ryloth has like out of a 22-minute episode has like 5 minutes of screen time, and the rest is Bail Organa trying to negotiate food and supplies. I'm like, I want to see this Jedi and his clone platoon do what they do because they're cool. Like,
yeah, but for me,
Jedi was awesome.
I love the clone so much. One of the I think the best clone episode was the one with the Jedi with the 4 arms. I don't know his name.
Pong Krell. So the Umbara, it's the Umbara arc.
Yeah, the Umbara arc is probably the best clone-focused arc. And
everybody loves that arc. Yeah. I'm one of the few people that doesn't like it.
What I love about Clone Wars is the way they tackle story arcs. And how they'll show they show it from different viewpoints. Like they'll have an episode about the clone troopers on the ground doing something, and then they'll have another episode about what Anakin and Obi-Wan were doing while the clone troopers were doing what they were doing, and then the next episode would be about all of them meeting up. And I like that. I like the way they show the way the wars and different battles throughout the war play out. Grill.
Oh my God.
I was about to say, I'm trying to remember the name of that something beast. What was the name? The Grillo Beast or something like that?
Oh, the Rillo Beast?
The Rillo Beast.
I think it's the Rillo Beast.
I think it's the Rillo Beast, yeah. I kind of want to see that in Mandalorian. I know that was supposed to be the last one, but I wouldn't be surprised if they cloned it. And I kind of...
Well, that wasn't that the thing, though? Was at the end of the arc, Palpatine was trying to get the scientists to
clone it,
either clone it or like figure out its armor or something like that, or like the scales. And she was like, "We can't do it without killing it."
Yeah, they were doing experiments on it. And I would like for them to have succeeded. And I just want to see the Rillo Beast in the Mandalorian. Mostly because I saw the Krayt Dragon. I was like, the moment I saw the Krayt Dragon, I was like, you know what else would be cool? The Rillo Beast. Immediately.
But the Rillo Beast isn't dead, though. That's the thing. I don't think it's dead. I think it's still alive because at the end of it's been a while since I've seen the episode, but I can almost remember at the end of the episode, the biggest contention being that the scientist was like, if we were to study if we were to make the scales or figure out like the scales and stuff like that to make indestructible armor, lightsaber proof armor, it would kill the beast. and Palpatine was like, "We'll do it anyway." So like the beast might still be alive. But I remember it still being alive at the end because that was like the biggest contention. Was the scientists didn't want to kill it.
Yeah, the whole point was them trying like not to kill it. But yeah, it would be cool if it was like you said, it's alive. So if it was just like on some planet, and like Mandalorian went to the planet and he ends up. I don't want him to kill it because after they went through all of that to keep it alive, I don't want Din Djarin to just come in and ruin all of that and murder the real little piece. But I want him to just fight it a little bit, and then maybe they become friends, and then he leaves. I just want to see what it would look like in live action. Maybe I just need to make a 3D model when I get good, and just because I just kind of just want to see it in live action, honestly.
One thing. Oh, I completely forgot we were talking about Rebels.
You're talking about Rebels and why you like it more than Clone Wars.
I like Rebels more than Clone Wars because one, I find the entire main cast interesting and compelling. I don't find the entire. Well, I mean, Clone Wars doesn't have much of a main cast aside from Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Rex.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Rex were like the main technically.
Yeah,
and then
I mean, I find all of them interesting. Like, I like all of them, but like. Their entire episode's dedicated to random characters. I don't think there's a single episode in Rebels that's dedicated to a character that's not part of the original cast.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go back and watch and like actually take notes on it. What'd you say?
I was saying that's also what I like about Clone Wars, how they focus on characters that aren't part of the main.
Oh.
Like they'll have episodes focused on Asajj.
Adventures is also really cool. I really like Ventures.
Adventures is great.
Ventures is great. She deserved better than what she got. Like her death is.
The Night Sisters all around were interesting, and that's another thing. That's another I feel like unutilized thing within the Star Wars universe. The idea that the Force isn't just how the Jedi and Sith use it. They're like different aspects of the Force, and that I feel like I would love for them to explore that a bit more. I hope they do that a little bit in because I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna make a sequel to Fallen Order. And
they've already been talking about it. Like that's already been announced.
It would be cool if we get to play as the Night Sister. Like she was like
as Marin.
Yeah, Marin was cool. I like Marin.
Marin was awesome. Yeah.
The nicest, just the nicest, and using the Force in ways that the Jedi and Sith don't use them is cool. Like using it to bring people back to life and turn them into zombies.
Yeah.
And just the idea, the Force is a power that, as long as it's done right, you could literally make anything up and it would be pretty cool. Like, I don't want them to go too far with it and make it ridiculous, but I do want them to kind of just use the Force for a few different things. Like example, I feel like, how people weren't the biggest fan of Yoda using a lightsaber because they wanted him to just be kind of like, use the Force basically when he fights. I feel like a cool way to do that and still have him use a lightsaber, because I wasn't that mad at him using a lightsaber. Like I said, I thought
him using a lightsaber was awesome. I was like, oh!
Like I was saying, I just don't like the flips too much, but I understand why he flips. And when it comes to Yoda, I'm more understanding of Yoda flipping because he's small. Of course, he has to jump up.
He has to get up there, yeah.
I feel like it would have been cooler if the way he used his lightsaber was using the Force. So he didn't jump, he didn't flip. He literally just stood there and used the Force to control the lightsaber. That would have been so cool. You know how cool that would have been, bro?
In the game that you refused to play, Knights of the Old Republic, in the second one, that's one of the people in the party.
It's a bad game. It's like I said, it's too outdated for me, and I don't like RPGs. And I definitely
the game you refuse to play has that exact thing in it.
I already told you, if they make a sequel, I will play it. But here's what I want them to do. If they were to remake it, I would play it. If they remade those first two games, I would play them. There's a rumor that Blue Point, the people that did the
they're supposed to be remaking it.
There's a rumor that they might be remaking Metal Gear, which
I heard they were remaking Knights of the Old Republic,
which is like my biggest like wish for a remake ever is the very first Metal Gear game. Not Metal Gear.
I feel like we've talked about that before.
Metal Gear Solid, we definitely have. But anyway, I feel like we keep digressing from you talking about Rebels, but I still haven't finished it because even though I do know some of what happens, I feel like I want to leave some of the stuff that I don't remember a surprise though. So I feel like this is the one thing I don't want spoiled because I'm still, even though I low key know a lot of what happens, there's some stuff that I might still be surprised by. So I want to keep that a surprise. This the Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars was cool.
I did like it.
The animation style, his animation style in general was just super dope. You wouldn't think that he made Hotel Transylvania. You wouldn't think that he's the director of those three movies. If you watch Samurai Jack and Clone Wars and Dexter's Laboratory. But
yeah, I was gonna say he made Samurai Jack too.
Yeah, I love Samurai Jack so much. That fifth season, it's perfect. But the fight scenes, like he tells stories through action. He barely uses words. He always tells it through action, and that's basically just what Clone Wars, the first animated series was. It was just pure action, and Mace Windu was a boss in that animated series. He ran through all of those droids like they were nothing. And the coolest part for me was, and I think we need to see this more with Jedi, is a Jedi fighting without a lightsaber and kind of just using the Force in combination with martial arts like Mace Windu was. That was so cool. Because naturally, he wouldn't be able to just punch through a robot by himself.
It's the Force, yeah, it's an assisted Force.
He was using the Force to not just pull them apart and throw them around, but you literally like strengthen his punches. And I feel like that's another thing of like the Force doing something interesting. Like the Force is an interesting tool that I feel like doesn't get used in interesting ways all the time. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the people working on Star Wars shows sometimes just aren't creative enough when it comes to the use of the Force. Because I feel like sometimes they want to stray away from the Force because they don't want to use it too much. But in doing that, they use it too little.
That's another thing I really like about Rebels. Rebels really delves into the Force and the mysteries of the Force, and like you see Palpatine.
No, go ahead. I don't care.
Okay, you see Palpatine using Force sorcery and like dark side sorcery. You see time travel in a sense.
Yeah,
you see.
I love like the Force is literally like we talked about it before. It's like God. It could do anything if you use it right.
Yes. It like there's an entire Force like world where like time, like you're able to see moments in time and interact with them. That's how Ezra winds up saving Ahsoka and like and like he was about to save Kanan, and it's just like all this stuff is like it really delves into the Force. Like it shows you so much about the Force. That's one of the things I also like about Rebels. This is another reason I love Rebels. I love Rebels a lot. I really do. I also love how Rebels has a more cohesive narrative than the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars would just jump around. So moments that are supposed to be felt just fell flat for me. I'm like, I don't care about what's going on.
But yeah, speaking about like how we keep talking about legends and stuff, I want a Star Wars What If like animated series. Like I want them to just make a What If.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, it would be really cool to just see like what if Qui-Gon Jinn didn't die and he like left the Jedi Order and trained Anakin, because he 100% would have left the Jedi Order if he didn't die.
I don't know if he would have left the Jedi Order, but he was definitely more. I think he would have been kicked out. I don't think he would have left. I think he would have been kicked out.
I think he would
like 100%. I think he would have been kicked out.
I think he would have knew they were going to kick him out and left because he already knew they were going to kick him out. He probably would have just walked in like, I'm out. And I still
don't think he would have left simply for the fact that Obi-Wan, he wouldn't have left Obi-Wan. I know that for a fact. He wouldn't have left Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan wouldn't have left even if even if Qui-Gon was leaving.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I feel like he would have left, honestly. Even if he didn't.
I don't think.
Yeah, even if he didn't leave and he was kicked out, I would have still liked that. He would have probably stayed alive.
He more than likely would have been kicked out. He more than likely, like
at some point,
they were sick of him. They were so sick of him.
Yeah, but at some point, either way, he just wasn't going to be part of the Jedi Order anymore. And it would have been cool if he left the Jedi Order and still trained Anakin, and Anakin would have turned out so differently. Also,
oh yeah, for sure.
Also, I would like a what if Anakin still lost, but he didn't like get his body destroyed? Like
he would be so powerful.
Yeah, because that body was just Palpatine was using it to keep him weak when he could have become so much more powerful. So yeah, like you said, he would have been way more powerful if that didn't happen. Or what if he just won? What if Anakin won?
There's actually an alternate ending in the original Revenge of the Sith video game where Anakin can beat and kill Obi-Wan. Like he actually successfully leaps over him and then stabs him.
Yeah, there are tons of just
that would have actually been cool.
There are tons of what if scenarios.
We've talked about this a few times though. Oh wait, go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything to say. I was just.
So we've talked about this a few times. There's actually a comic book series called called Star Wars Infinities, where each comic is basically like A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. But if each thing went differently, and so in A New Hope, it's what if Luke failed to blow up the Death Star, and he misses, and they wind up going to Dagobah. Luke and Han wind up going to Dagobah. Han leaves to go do something. Luke winds up getting trained to be like this super powerful Force user, and Yoda decides to come with Luke, and it turns out that Leia survived, and Darth Vader has been keeping her like almost like a secret apprentice or something like that. And Luke defeats Vader and saves Leia, and Yoda takes the Death Star and crashes it into Coruscant, and like blows up Coruscant. And like the second episode, yeah, like he sacrifices himself to take out Coruscant. But he doesn't just take out Coruscant, because Coruscant is the Imperial capital. So he kills Palpatine, he kills like all of the stormtroopers, and he takes out like everybody. Empire Strikes Back was what if Luke died on Hoth? Like he winds up, you know the scene where he sees Obi-Wan's Force Ghost? Yeah. He dies from hypothermia there. And so I think it's either Leia or Han becomes a Jedi or something like that. Like it's so cool.
That's such a joke when he dies a Jedi. This man died from hypothermia.
But and then there's one with the last one is what if Vader became a good guy at the end, like he didn't die and he winds up becoming Darth Vader with like all white armor.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was so cool. Like you have to go read those. You have to read them. They're so cool.
But let's before we end this, let's talk about video games. So I want to just go through. I just want to go through a little history lesson. Which one is this? Okay, so let's just talk about the history of like Star Wars video games. So
okay,
after the Return of the Jedi, tons of Star Wars games were made. In between then and when Disney bought Lucas Films and LucasArts and just everything Star Wars in 2012.
It was 13, no 14. It was 2014.
No, I think it was.
Hang on, let me look this up because I remember it wasn't 2012.
It was 13 or 12. It was one of those two. But I think from what I
no, it was 2012.
Yeah, I was gonna say from what I researched, what I was going from with this is that they bought Lucas Film and LucasArts in 2012, but they shut down LucasArts in 2013.
I was actually supposed to have an internship when I was 14 with LucasArts because my mom is best friends with someone that used to work for LucasArts, and I was supposed to go over there and have an internship. That never happened.
They shut down LucasArts, laid off a bunch of people, and they were trying to like minimize the company's risk or whatever because they didn't have. But here's the thing. Here's the exact quote. Somebody from Disney or LucasArts, Lucasfilm said, they did it to minimize the company's risk while achieving a broad portfolio of quality Star Wars games. Now, me and you both know, within that time, they only released 3 games. We both know that. Whereas in between 83 and 2012, they released 40 plus. No, actually, I have the exact number. It was over 50 games. Now, of course, when you make over 50 games, not all of them are going to be good. But a lot of them were like,
there were a few duds, but
there
were few and far between.
A lot of them were really good games that people loved, and not just because they were Star Wars games, but because they were legitimately good games. And Disney makes a lot of mistakes, and this was just one of them. They shut down LucasArts to claim to make more games and better games. They made good games. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm gonna point out a lot of flaws that I keep forgetting the name of Fallen Order, but Fallen Order has. But I like the game, and I think it's a good game. But it's just, I think that Fallen Order is the first step of them starting to make the games that people want again.
I disagree with that.
I feel
like every game they've put out has been good,
No.
except for the what was that game called? The stupid mobile game, Galaxy of Heroes. That's garbage.
Here's the thing. The first Battlefront, I wouldn't say it was good. I would say it was okay. I would say the second one was bad at first, but now it's really good. Like, it's honestly a really good game.
You realize it's the same. They didn't change anything except for taking out microtransactions. And start adding new content. That's it. That's all they did.
Make it any less bad. It was still bad at the beginning.
But you just said it's a good game now.
Yeah,
it's the same game.
No, now
it's the same.
The changes they made. First off, they added new characters. Of course, basically what they did was
added new content.
Basically, what they did was listen to their fans. They didn't just add new content. They specifically added the content that people were asking for months, and what should have been
the same core game.
They added Anakin, Obi-Wan, Dooku, and Grievous. They added
the same core game.
Look, do you like this game or not? Because I'm trying to.
I love this game. That's what I'm saying. I love this game, but it's the same core game.
I'm not in the good light, and you're sitting here trashing it.
I'm not trashing it. It was never bad. The only bad thing was microtransactions. It was never a bad game. It was never a bad game. It was just pay to win. That was the problem.
Okay. Much like the first game, it was okay at first, and then it got better.
No.
Okay, let's go with that. It wasn't the best game at first because of microtransactions. Microtransactions is enough to make a game bad, bro. I'm telling you. It is more than enough to make a game bad. Especially when
I look at mechanics for how bad a game is.
Especially when a game's core like gameplay is in the multiplayer, in the online multiplayer, but the only way you can upgrade your characters is through loot boxes. That makes a game bad because that's a core gameplay element.
I look at gameplay mechanics, not microtransactions. I agree that microtransactions are bad. I don't think it makes a game.
Yeah, but when that's a core mechanic of the entire game and your progression system, and you use that to unlock everything. When that's how
you can unlock everything in game though. That was the thing.
But it takes way more time than it should because they want you to go, okay, this is going to take long.
All right. I'll take that.
They're going to go, okay, this is going to take too long. You know what would be easier? If I spent money. That was their goal. And literally, you know what's funny about Star Wars giving EA that 10-year license for Star Wars video games? 2 years in a row. Like on the year that they got the license and the year before they got the license, EA was awarded, as you want to call it an award, the worst company in America.
Yeah.
And you know what Star Wars said? That's the company that needs to license the Star Wars games for 10 years. And my problem isn't, like I said, they made good games. Like I said, Battlefront 2 right now is a fantastic game. Fallen Order, great game. But those are 2 games.
Hold on.
Those are 2 games. It's 2020. They got the license in 2013. And
you're missing Squadrons.
2012. Oh, I forgot about Squadrons, but that's really new. So 4 games. And you're gonna say it's like 4 games.
That is really
a lot. And
I mean, they've only made 4 games.
And then their quote was, again, where's it? Hold up, I lost the quote. To make a broad portfolio of games. They did not do that. They made 4 games under one company. And my problem, like I said, isn't the fact that EA made Star Wars games. They can make Star Wars games all they want. It's the fact that they didn't allow any other company to make Star Wars games. And I'm pretty sure it was just money. Because I'm pretty sure EA probably paid them a lot of money to get that.
Oh, I don't doubt it. With the amount of money that they charge users to play their games, I don't doubt it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only reason EA got that 10-year license is because they paid Disney a lot of money to get that license. Otherwise, Disney would have been having like 5 different studios that aren't all under the same company make video games, and it would have been an actual diverse portfolio of games, unlike what EA did. And it's also weird that they got Respawn to make Fallen Order, even though I'm glad it turned out well, when they literally have the studio that made KOTOR under EA. Like BioWare.
Is it really?
Yeah, BioWare is under EA.
BioWare an EA company?
BioWare is an EA company. Exactly.
That's a little.
They were too busy.
A little weird.
They were too busy making that game that flopped real hard. What was it, Anthem? Anthem flopped.
And okay, yeah, no, I was about to sit here and try to defend Anthem. Anthem's
Yeah,
actually, I hate Anthem.
I have a feeling that you would like
I
it because it was essentially in my mind what I always imagined Destiny to be. Except
hate Anthem.
Anthem did not pan out whatsoever.
I hate Anthem. I hate Anthem. Destiny's so much better. I hate Anthem.
Their license is almost up, and I feel like they.
Good.
I feel like they.
Oh wait, no.
I feel like they should at least try to make another KOTOR because they have BioWare. They have
EA renewed their license. EA did renew their license.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive about that. I remember seeing something about them renewing their license. I'm pretty sure they renewed their license.
I really hope they did. I hope that you're wrong.
No, I hope that I honestly hope that I'm right because with the amounts of games they've been making so far, they actually have.
They made 4 games.
No, I'm saying with what they've done so far, it's not that bad. Like they're going in the right direction. I hope they're able to continue going in the right direction.
It took them a long time.
It was not that long. Battlefront 2 came out in what, 2017 and got fixed in 2018. That's not that long.
Yeah, but
the first Battlefront game was that's not that.
Listen to me. It is that long. It's been, what is it, 2012? 8 years. 8 years. They released 4 games.
That's not that long though. But I mean, every game they released has been at least okay and at best amazing. Like,
my problem is that EA doesn't need to be the only studio making Star Wars games.
Oh no, I totally agree with that.
That's my problem.
They shouldn't lose the license.
Only 4 Star Wars games came out because one studio has the license.
They shouldn't lose the license though. That's my point. They shouldn't lose the license.
They don't need the license at all. They don't need the license to make a Star Wars game. They just need permission to make a game. They don't need to have the license to making every single Star Wars game. This license prevents other studios from making Star Wars games. That's the problem.
I
don't want EA to stop making Star Wars games. I just want other studios to be allowed to also make Star Wars games.
I feel like they need to do what Project Maverick did. I think that's not the right thing at all. Hold on, give me a sec. There was something. It wasn't Project Maverick because that's what that's what Squadron I'm turning into. There was something there was an old project thing that Lucasfilm did, or not Lucasfilm, LucasArts did, where basically like fan ideas and like fan games and stuff like that, they would like buy the fan or the people making the game and the content, and then they would make the game like theirs, so they'd be able to sell it and stuff like that. And like I don't remember what it was called, but they need to do that. They need to go back to that model because that model was perfect.
Yeah, I'm frustrated at the fact that they're limiting themselves for no reason. First off, EA. I disagree with you every step of the way. EA, they're the best studio at making okay games. They have not made a great game in like a decade.
Fallen Order exists.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, I guarantee you that if other studios were working on Star Wars games, we would have gotten games better than Fallen Order and Battlefront 2 by now. Because you can
I disagree with that.
That EA,
I disagree with
that studio to make Star Wars games. They're not.
I disagree with that.
There's so many.
Fallen Order is the best Star Wars game to have been made in my eyes. So I highly doubt that. Fallen Order is the best Star Wars game in my eyes.
I think that the first Force Unleashed is the best Star Wars game.
Definitely, the second Force Unleashed is better than the first one in my eyes.
The second one is nowhere near.
It's far better.
The combat of the second one way better than the first one, but the story trash. The levels.
The story was better. I hated the story of the first one. I didn't hate the story. The story of the first one felt redundant. The story of the first one felt very redundant. The story of the second one.
The story of the first one for anyone. The story of the first one for anyone who doesn't know is basically Starkiller. His name is Galen Erso.
Galen Merrick. It's not Urso.
It is what?
It's not. Urso was Jin from Rogue One. No, that was her family.
Yeah, and her
last name was Merrick.
Her family was named after Starkiller.
No.
Her dad's.
Galen's last name was Merrick. It was Galen Merrick.
It was Merrick.
It wasn't Galen Urso.
Are you sure about
it was
that?
Merrick. I'm positive.
Okay.
He used to be my favorite Star Wars character. I know this by heart. Like.
Okay, my bad. Galen Merrick. His father was killed by Darth Vader. Darth Vader adopted Galen and made him his apprentice. His name was Starkiller. He named him Starkiller. And he basically, the first, quarter or half of the game was him going around hunting down Jedi, killing them. Then Darth Sidious, Palpatine, finds out about Starkiller makes Darth Vader kill him, but Darth Vader secretly saves him and tells him to try and start a rebellion to distract Palpatine. And he does that. And like any story about an undercover, officer, for lack of a better term, he ended up kind of getting too close to the people he was working with, and he ended up kind of going towards the light. He ended up, falling in love. He ended up making some good friends, and he ended up betraying them. And he died for it. I think that was a good ending, just him dead. But they decided to.
I definitely agree with that.
I agree that you say you don't, or you do.
No, I definitely agree with that.
I feel like they should have.
Was really good on that.
I think they should have kept him dead. I enjoy that story. I like that story a lot. And I think what the second one does is, first off, you say that game is better than the second one. It's not. I mean, the first one is not.
It is.
Let me tell you why. But first, for several reasons. Because I thought it was better than the first one too, because it was the first one I played, and I was basically.
I played the first one first.
I was looking back at it with rose-tinted glasses. The game was made in 9 months, and the writer was given 3 weeks to write the entirety of the story.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah, and the reason was there is no reason. Lucasfilms just wanted them to do it real fast. Like, they literally had no reason. Lucasfilms just like, get it done and get it done fast, and that's about it. They had no good reason for rushing this game, and because of that, the levels were uninspired. They were very repetitive. Like, you would literally go. Don't you dare!
That's literally the first game.
No,
that's the entirety of the first game.
Different and diverse levels. First off,
they were very samey.
You went to 3 places in the second game, and when you went forward, it was a circle. You literally would go through the same loop like 20 times.
You went to in the second game. You go
Dagobah for like 5.
Camino. You go Camino. You go the ship that Ram Koda and whatever her name is on. You go through that weird. There was one. I'm blanking on where it was. It was the weird thing where you meet Boba Fett on there. That might have no.
That was the first.
You were on the surface. What?
You meet Boba Fett. Oh yeah, Boba Fett was
in
on
the second one.
That was on the ship. He was also in the first one, but he was on the ship.
Was he in the first one? I don't know. I played both of them on Wii. I don't know.
He was in DLC.
Okay. He was in DLC for the first one. I remember that. I remember that DLC. I remember seeing the trailer for that.
He also.
Let's see. What were you saying?
I was going to say the game starts off on Camino, then you go to that planet that Koda's on, then you leave that planet and you go to the ship. No, he goes to Dagobah for like 5 seconds. Then he goes.
I forgot about the Dagobah level. The Dagobah level was creepy.
It was stupid. Then he was on.
It was not stupid. It was cool.
He was on the ship
so
for like
cool.
5 seconds, and that was the best. That was the best map on the ship because it was a bit. They were trying to mix a bit of horror in there. I actually liked it. And then the last place you went was back to Camino. You went 4 places, and one of them you were there for like 5 minutes.
Dagobah was cool though. I love Dagobah. I don't understand how you hated Dagobah. Dagobah was awesome. Dagobah was awesome to see, and you got to meet Yoda, and you got to go through the little force cave that Luke went through. That was awesome. I love that. I
think that. Oh yeah. Also, the reason why I also like the fact that he died is that it could have fit in canon.
Yeah, it definitely could have.
At the end of the first game, his death was permanent and he just died. It could have fit in canon, and he could have been technically the reason the rebellion started. He kind of just sparked it a bit.
My only problem with Star Wars.
If Koda was canon, I would love him so much.
My only problem with Star Wars, and this is literally my only problem with anything Star Wars ever, except for ignoring the sequels. My only problem with anything Star Wars is in both Legends and in canon. In both Legends and canon, there's like 30 different origins of the Rebel Alliance.
Oh yeah.
I don't like, why are there so many different origins of the Rebel Alliance? It's like I don't get that.
Starkiller's origin was the one they chose. I wouldn't be mad because that was actually the one that George Lucas wanted to use until he sold Disney and Disney changed things.
I actually did not hear that was the one he wanted to use. I just heard that he said he signs off on everything and doesn't know, like, he
He
didn't
signed
know
off
half
on
of what was
everything.
going on.
He's just like, I don't care, make it. If it makes me money, I don't care.
That's basically it. The Darth Maul game went through so much turmoil because he started signing off on a bunch of stuff, and then he decided to start vetoing a bunch of stuff, like, into development.
Why?
And then that's why the Darth Maul game didn't get made, because at first he signed off on stuff, and then he wanted Darth Talon, who was in the Star Wars Legacy comics, I believe. She was one of the Sith Lords in there, and he wanted her to be Darth Maul's apprentice and I think love interest or something like
And
that.
also something that like another reason why like I'm saying, like, I don't think EA should just stop. Like, I don't think they make well, sometimes they make bad games, but I don't think the Star Wars game they made are bad. Like, I keep telling you, I don't think they're bad. I just don't think they're amazing, but I think that I guarantee you that if other studios were making games, they would make some, like, better games would be made. And if anything, competition breeds, what's the word? What I'm looking? It breeds innovation. Competition breeds innovation. And
That's true.
When you have multiple studios making games, and if eventually 100% another studio would have made a Star Wars game much better than EA made, and that would have pushed EA to start making better games. Because EA, the reason they were voted worst company in America, I said worst like I was German, worst company in America for like 2 years straight, was because what they would do is they would buy studios, they would buy studios for their IPs, have them make a game, but then basically not allow them to work the way they're used to working, and completely change their workflow, which would mess up the production of the game. And then when the game turns out not to be good because EA overstepped their boundaries and messed up the way that company does their thing, they would fire them all. That's basically what EA was known to do over and over again. That's why they were voted worst company in America. And now they're getting better because of public criticism. But it took a while. And if they had a bit more competition, they probably would have got a lot better a lot faster. And I just don't like, it's the way I feel about most of Star Wars. Star Wars is such a big and diverse, it's a universe, it's a galaxy. It's like, it's full of so much stuff that I feel like they always limit themselves all the time when they don't need to. Star Wars it's nearly limitless. It's a world full of so many different types of stories. In reality, you could literally make a soap opera based in the Star Wars universe if you wanted to, and have it have absolutely nothing to do with anything else going on in the galaxy and the greater galaxy with the rebellion and all that. It could just be a soap opera in Star Wars, and it wouldn't matter because Star Wars is such a large universe that you can literally do anything with it.
I want to see. I'm trying to think about. I think I really want to see CD Projekt Red make a Star Wars game, but like not an open world one. I want to see them make a linear Star Wars game.
I'm not sure what studio I want to do it, but I want a Force Unleashed 3. My first thought was Capcom, because they make great action games. But I'm trying to think of another studio that can make it. Santa Monica.
I wouldn't want Capcom to make it. I
think Sony Santa Monica would do a great job.
No, I want Naughty Dog to make.
Yeah, Naughty Dog. They were supposed to make 1313.
They were. I remember that they were supposed to make 1313, and that's why I was thinking about it.
There was a whole trailer for it with games.
There's a whole trailer for 1313. Did not look fun in my opinion. Yeah, like the trailer for 1313, I didn't like it.
I think it was literally just Uncharted in space.
Yeah. But like less interesting to me.
Yeah, but we know that they can make games that aren't Uncharted. Like The Last of Us is like nothing like Uncharted. So we know they can make a game. Plus, they also made Crash. Like, we know they can make games that aren't just Uncharted.
Oh, did they make Crash? They did make Crash. That makes sense.
They did make Crash before it was sold to Activision. Hell, Activision could make a great Star Wars game.
No. Who were the people that made Sleeping Dogs?
That studio's gone. I'm pretty sure that studio's gone. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I was like, please look it up, because
I'm not mistaken, they were under another studio, but I think like the studio that actually made it.
They were under Square Enix, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
they were
sure.
under Square Enix. The actual developers that made it, United Front Games,
United Front.
they defunct in 2016.
Ah. If they were a thing, they would make a great Star Wars game, and I will stand by that
Oh
fact
yeah.
forever.
Look, you see what I'm saying? The wheels start turning when you start introducing other studios. Like EA doesn't need to stop. They just need to share. They need to share their toys with other people.
Oh my god, I want like a Sleeping Dog style. Well, not like Sleeping Dog style, but like
Also,
in the similar vein of Sleeping
upset,
Dogs. Like,
how upset would you be
good.
if BioWare doesn't make another Star Wars game before EA stops making Star Wars games?
Wait, repeat that? Because you cut out for like half of that.
I'm saying, how upset would you be if EA never lets BioWare make a Star Wars game?
Isn't BioWare owned by EA?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be that upset about it. They made 3 great games. I wouldn't be that upset about it.
I feel like they made 3 great games. They could make another one. Like, let them make another great Star Wars game. I'm pretty sure
I don't think I'd be that mad about it.
I doubt they won't, because it would just be ridiculous for them not to.
You know what they should do? They should let Telltale. Well, Telltale shut down, but if Telltale hadn't shut down, they should have let Telltale or the people behind
So they could just have
Heavy Rain and
Massive or
Supermassive. They should have let Supermassive make a Star Wars game about like becoming a Jedi or something like that.
Quantic Dream.
And like
Quantic Dream made Heavy Rain.
Quantic Dream, yeah.
Supermassive made Until Dawn.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. I wouldn't want Supermassive making a Star Wars. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe the Star Wars horror game.
Yeah,
maybe
they made a Star Wars horror game. That's the thing, though. I have an idea of like an alien isolation game, but you're being hunted by Darth Vader, and you have to try.
We've talked about this one before.
You have to try and escape the ship from Darth Vader. Also, I wouldn't be mad at just a straight up aliens and Star Wars crossover video game.
I want if there was going to be a Star Wars horror game, I want it to be based off of Vader's Castle. Did you ever read Vader's Castle?
Nope.
Okay. Vader's Castle is basically it's like a series of almost kids books, but it's like kids going to a horror theme park in Star Wars. And so they're like seeing like all the I don't even know how to describe it. I only read a little bit of like the first Vader's Castle book. Oh my god. Vader's Castle is just really good. It's really good. You should read Vader's Castle. But like I would want one of those like that.
Well,
or I would want
no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, or I would want
I was gonna say where I'm sorry, we're going on 2:30 and
okay.
We need to wrap this up. That's all I was about to say.
Okay. I would want Quantic Dream to make a Star Wars game about like Boba Fett's origins, but like, did you ever read the Young Boba Fett books?
Nah.
Okay, first of all, you should. Those were great books.
I've only read one Star Wars book, and that was the Ahsoka book, and that was it. As a medium, Star Wars is one that I prefer to consume through film and video games and TV.
As bad as this sounds, and this is by no means bashing anything Star Wars, because I love the movies, I love the TV shows, I love all that stuff. Star Wars is at its worst on screen. Yeah. I mean that in the most sincere way.
For me personally, I think it's at its best on TV, and I think that it could be at its absolute best in video game form. I think that it could work the best in video games because it lends so heavily to just the way RPGs work. Like I said, I'm not big in RPGs, but I played the hell out of a Star Wars RPG, except for the old ones.
Play Cold War. Play Knights of the Old Republic.
Ooh, what if Ubisoft made a Star Wars game?
I want Ubisoft to stay as far away from Star Wars.
Here's the thing, though. They don't have to.
I love Ubisoft. I swear I love Ubisoft. I love Assassin's Creed. I love Watch Dogs.
They don't have to write the game. They could hire better writers.
it even goes down to gameplay mechanics, because as much as I love their games, there's always at least one thing that they royally screw up that can ruin the entire game for me. It's always something.
I think they could make a decent Star Wars game.
It's always something. They're always either super buggy or there's it's something. It's always something with Ubisoft. That's the thing.
For me,
I want a Star Wars game to be perfect.
For me, off top, when I think of studios that make Star Wars games, is Bethesda pops in my mind. One of their studios, because
Bethesda would make an amazing Star Wars.
Yeah, Bethesda would make great Star Wars games, and also another one. Oh, I forgot immediately. This one doesn't pop in my mind, but it would be interesting if the studio that made Breath of the Wild made a Star Wars game.
Ooh, I can see that.
I don't even know what studio made Breath of the Wild.
You just gave me a perfect idea. I know you said we have to wrap it up, but you just gave me a perfect idea. The studio that made the Payday games, makes a bounty hunter style Star Wars game or a smuggler style Star Wars game. That would be great in my eyes. Yeah, no, that would be amazing in my eyes.
It's not even a studio under Nintendo. The studio that made it just says straight up Nintendo. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how Nintendo studios work. I feel like Nintendo studios are the only video game studios I don't understand. I don't know how they work.
Yeah, I haven't done any research into Nintendo Studios, so I have no.
Every other studio that makes Xbox and PlayStation games, I know how they work in the studios they have under them, but I have no idea how. Bandai Namco makes Super Smash Bros, which is weird. Well, it's not that weird because they make tons of fighting games, but they make hella anime fighting games. But we gotta end this podcast. We've been talking. I knew this one was gonna be probably the longest one, purely based on the fact that it's Star Wars, and it's it makes sense that this podcast is 2 hours and 30 minutes long, because that's pretty much every Star Wars movie. They're 2 hours and 30 minutes long, and sometimes I didn't watch those two movies that I watched recently all at once. I watched half of it, went to sleep, and then the next day I watched the other half. But I'm Dijon. You can
I'm Amir.
I'm gonna cut all that out because I said that wrong. You can follow us on Instagram at _mustard_cast, and on Twitter at _mustardcast, uppercase T, uppercase M, uppercase C. You can find me, Dijon, at Dijon_mustard_432 on Instagram, and Dijon_432 on Twitter, and Amir.
In my hand, right here.
Okay, it's gonna be in his hand.
T Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead.
T_H_N_N_Amir.
Yes.
And
a lot of underscores.
Yeah. And peace.